edges of Scottsdale, Arizona.
I'll tell you, it was a little
Terrible.
It was a little cold there, you
Terrible.
know? Yeah, it was terrible. The sun, first day I got down there was like 70.
Staggering amounts of money being poured everywhere.
Boy, Scottsdale, Arizona.
Sneaky.
Yeah, it's not sneaky. It's in your face. Yeah. No, it's in your face.
Well, I mean, you don't think about Scottsdale being one of those cities, but it is.
Boy, that place has got, they got a lot of rich people around there.
They roll on down there.
They really do.
That's where the rich snowbirds go.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where just like rich people live. Like, it's crazy to see how many just like rich people everywhere. Like everywhere you look, you're like, oh my gosh,
you're worth a lot of money. You know how I can
cost of living there,
because I can see how much money you've put into your face.
That's right. That's right.
And possibly your chest or rear end.
That's right. That's also true.
That's not limited to just ladies, folks.
No, it's not. It's just a blanket statement across all genders.
Look, calf implants are real.
They are. They are. I don't know.
And leg lengthening.
How do you... Leg lengthening is way too far.
That's insane. Dude.
Yeah.
It's a year-long process.
Like, you really got to not like your height to
go.
Man.
That's a real thing? People actually do that?
Yeah. Brother, guys are getting like 4 inches out of it. Go ahead and grab that as a drop. Yep. But you can get like 4 inches out of it, as insane as that is.
Well, in the way that they do it, right? Like, you get like a spacer, like they literally break your legs and then they put a spacer and you have to like go in and get it wrenched around like a
braces.
Quarter turn every week or whatever.
And what ends up happening is
that doesn't seem healthy.
The bone ends up filling it in and your skin slowly stretches and your muscle slowly stretches. And
here's my question though. Are you more susceptible to injury after that?
I mean, it seems it's like a reverse microfracture procedure.
Okay.
So probably...
You probably are more prone to get injured after.
But the same thing is like once you break a bone, it does heal stronger.
Do they just say that, or is that true?
No, it's real. That's a real thing.
I thought that was just your collarbone.
Just one bone in your body?
Well, once you break your arm, you're more likely to break your arm, I feel like. But I thought I remembered hearing if you broke your collarbone, then it came back stronger.
I've never broken my collarbone twice.
I'll tell you this.
I can say that.
I've never broken any, well, with the exception of fingers, I've never broken any bone twice, like any major bone. Fingers can just go, though.
Yeah, fingers are, no. Yeah, sure.
But.
There we go.
Leg, ankles.
I don't know. That's it. I have no frame of reference here. That's just one of those things that I don't know if that's believable or not.
I fractured my skull in multiple places, but never the same space.
That explains a lot.
Right.
That explains a lot. A lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot's going on there. Yeah. But yeah, Scottsdale's great.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. How do you broach the topic of like if you think somebody has calf implants or not? Like, can you notice if a guy has calf implants?
I feel like yes.
You can tell?
I feel like yeah.
Because I just know a couple of people that just have massive calves. You know that guy who just is, you're like, where did those things come from? Like my college football coach, Jeff Olson, Coach Ole, he was a short guy. His calves, I swear, were like the size of his thighs. They were massive. What are you showing me?
The process of how they put it in.
Yeah, well, it's not going to be good.
Whoa! I thought they went through the back. They go through the top.
Yeah, I know.
Slide it in there.
I know that his were real, but they looked fake. Like they looked fake. This is before calf implants were a thing.
There you go. I'm showing Dusty now a picture.
See,
like that's not. Yeah.
But you know some dudes that have like jacked calves. Like I don't know.
I mean, you can see just how like
he's like
perfect and symmetrical they are.
Yeah. I feel bad for people that want to get the calf implants, you know? Like, you must really have it must really be in your dish that you have bad calves. Like, you just got these little chicken legs. There's nothing you can do about it. Like, I'd feel bad for somebody who was forced to get calf implants because they felt so bad about it.
I am not body shaming in any way, shape, or form. This is just a comment on what I saw.
All right.
Coming in on Friday, we drive past a gym that is on the way to our studio, and there was a person that came out that had the most obscene BBL I've ever seen in my entire life.
BBL.
The old Brazilian butt lift.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And it, like,
see, that looks weird.
brother, look, if you want to do it, go with
Depends
God.
on the person, it might look great.
Well, I'll tell you this: the waist was about as thick as our microphone stands,
Okay.
and then that was each cheek was like mine together,
Huh. Yeah.
and I was like, how does that medical procedure work? Like, where do you like?
Yeah.
I want the implant that is a foot wide. Like, how does that? I don't understand like the geometry of that. Like,
Yeah.
there's
That
only
can't
so
feel
much
comfortable.
skin that you can work with.
But that can't feel comfortable to sit down or sleep
You can't.
or do anything. You can't sit
you can't
down ever.
sit. No, you can't sit
You're
down
always standing.
for like 2 weeks.
Huh.
Like you have to lay on your stomach while it heals.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so how do you do anything?
I don't know. I have a buddy who's made actually quite the career out of he
shapes them.
He opened a gym and he called it the Cakery, and he just makes cakes. And like that is his thing. Like he's down in California. He's got I think 3 studios.
He's up to 3 now.
Where it is like
Business is booming.
Yeah, and it's just like videos all day of just butts, and he's just squats, and that's like people come to him. He's like the butt guy. Where if you want,
If you go to a gym right now, you can't see anybody, male or female, like not over there, like stealing the squat rack.
yeah. So big ups to Rosie, who's now he's just
The butt guy.
he's the cakery, he's the baker. He's just making cakes down there
As fast as he
in
can.
California. Yeah, I mean people want to do it naturally, but for those that don't, you just go and I don't know, shove a caboose in there.
It's something, man.
It's interesting. A young guy? How do you feel about those?
How do I feel about BBLs?
Yeah.
Depends. Sometimes I'm pro, sometimes I'm anti. I'm anti the lip injections. You ever seen those?
Yeah.
Those are rough. Looks like the pickle from SpongeBob.
That is a reference I do not get. I don't understand that reference, but I'm here for it. I'll go ahead and I'll Google it during the break, and we'll get back to that. But I'm with you on that. The lip implants they're the I don't know what they call it, filler
It's
with a plumper.
I think it's
Where you're just
Botox filler, where it's like for like 3 days, it looks like you got punched in the mouth a bunch of times.
That's right.
All for like a little bit more fuller lips. I don't understand.
As a single guy going to the bar, you need to go up one day and be like, "Are you okay? Did you get into a fight?"
Well, and the part that's crazy is most of the girls my age, I shouldn't say most people, but most of the women my age, they all have it.
Some sort of filler.
Some sort of filler in their lips at some point. Yeah. You'd be shocked at how many people are doing some sort of cosmetic like filler or surgery. It's not just like the BBLs. It's not just the up tops. It's all over the place now.
No.
I remember coming home on
power to
leave,
you.
and I ran into 3 women from high school who all had the up tops done at a bar in like the span of a week.
Well, that's something.
And I was just like, I guess this is a thing now.
Yeah.
Like it never crossed my mind like that.
You didn't think about it, and then you came home and you're like, "Whoa."
I mean, one of them had literally just had them done like 2 weeks before.
Huh.
And I remember thinking,
Yeah.
I guess that's like, we're at that age where if you're gonna do it,
Yeah.
it feels like you do it in like the mid-20s because you want to go like, over the top, or you do the mommy makeover.
Yeah.
Feels like those are the 2 windows that occurs in.
And that's talking Scottsdale.
Yeah.
I'm back from Scottsdale.
It's a rough scar, by the way. It's a rough scar.
The BBL?
I don't know about the BBL. I know about the other one though.
The up tops?
You got to have it underneath. You gotta do it
well,
underneath so no one can see.
That's right.
Poor Tara Reid.
That's right. I don't. Which surgery are you talking about?
The up tops.
She was one of the most beautiful people in Hollywood.
My God.
And then like the Van Wilder days, and then it went to there is a point where you get too much work.
Well, yeah, she had like there was a TV show, was it Botched?
Yeah.
Wasn't she on that?
She should have been.
Because the up tops got ruined.
That's tough, man. That's tough.
That's got to be. That's got to be
cautionary tales. Even people with a lot of money.
That's got to be tough though. Like not even just her, but just in general, right? You're thinking I'm going to do this enhancement, and then that.
Yeah, I wonder if you go down the road of like, that was way too much. Like
right?
I've
or they get it. It goes wrong.
Like I watch a lot of those shows, like the Addicted, like on TLC. channel.
Yeah.
You know, they got the Addicted show. There's like Addicted to Plastic Surgery. And they're like, no, I look way better than I did before. And they show pictures of them like before they got any work done. You're like,
I don't know.
I don't think you look better.
There was the IG model that made herself look like Barbie, and she died of complications from a procedure.
Yeah, don't say.
Yeah.
There's a dude who made himself look like Ken. That's
Yeah.
a real thing, though. Like,
Yeah, no, like, it's called body dysmorphia.
well, and
Not
like,
good.
you'll try and be a cool guy and go, hey, I think you look best naturally, and then you get ripped apart for being like, oh, what? I don't do makeup well. That happens.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. I mean, you just don't want to say, like, you just dance it. Fine. You got to go down that fine line. That's the delicate dance, my dude.
I think you look best naturally.
Well, that's like Kanye West married Kim Kardashian too.
Yeah.
Like he posted a bunch of photos of her yesterday. I'm like,
Yeah.
you just married the same person.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
There's a lot of girls out there trying to look
Well,
like
there is one that was like actually quite literally is done plastic surgery to look like her. And she looks just like her. And it's kind of terrifying.
I'll be damned.
Vancouver Ford text line. This is a great point as far as the leg lengthening.
Mm-hmm.
That making you taller thing, you're also going to walk around like a character at Disneyland on stilts. Like, how do you kind of, like, it's a slow process.
Mm-hmm.
So you maybe you do get used to it,
I assume, yeah.
right? Like, because
But it doesn't happen overnight. It's not like you go
it's literally
from like,
over a year.
it's not like you go from 5'6" to 5'10" in a day.
No, it's over a year.
You're getting used
But
to
like-
it, but you're in pain for that entire year.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like those things stay in your legs for a year. And I'm thinking about that,
Gross.
like, you know, I'm 5'10",
Mm-hmm.
and my legs are very short.
Yeah.
Like, what if I just evened it out so it matched my upper body?
So you are one of these people. You like, are you just setting the table here to get leg lengthening
BBL?
surgery?
Oh.
Yes, and a Brazilian butt lift. Is that what you're trying to do? Are you trying to set us up for this?
All I want is for my doctor to be right about me being like anywhere from 6'2" to 6'4" when I was done growing up.
Because
That liar.
this is the soft launch of like
That absolute liar.
you're going to be out for a year of surgeries, and everybody will be like, "Well, that makes sense. Danny is falling apart."
Come
but
back,
it's
I'm 6'4".
actually for your leg lengthening. We're going to be like, "Okay, yep, all right." But we saw this,
And my
on,
calves are going to look great.
on January 3rd. You went, and you planted the seed, and then now it has just led to your leg lengthening surgery. I see what you're doing. You can't slip this one past me. You know, we got this. We're sharp as a tack. 2024. It's our year.
Guys
Okay.
are getting like 4 inches out of it.
Uh-oh.
Like I said, I knew that was going to be
Yeah, that's a tough one.
You
But
I
have to
can
get
tell
4 inches,
how
buddy.
I can tell we're back.
All right. Well, I am back. I was down at the Fiesta Bowl where we saw Oregon absolutely blitz Liberty
That's not even a fair characterization.
for
that would
3 quarters.
That would admit that there was real football played.
It was for a quarter, and then the wheels fell off. We'll touch on that a little bit today. I know you guys talked about it briefly yesterday
you
as well.
have your experiences from boots on the ground.
Yeah, and I think that there's something to take out of this bowl season has been really bad. I mean,
With the exception of the CFP.
it was a bad bowl season. But there are some takeaways that I took from being down there that I think the college football playoff and the New Year's Six bowls can learn from moving forward. I mean, the first step is just cutting off like half of the bowls.
Yeah.
No.
Can we agree? Just
No.
cut half of them. Look, I'm as college football junkie as you are.
What else?
I watched all of this.
What are we
going to
gamble on?
But what makes the bowl season great is the exclusivity of it. That's gone. That's gone.
With what is it? 60 something bowl games.
40. I think it was 42 bowl games with 8. I mean, that's 84 teams.
Yeesh.
There's not 84 decent teams in college football.
About 56.
There's not. Yeah. So, but there were some takeaways that I had from the New Year's Six Bowl, which was the Fiesta Bowl win from Oregon. We'll talk about that. But the championship is set. I was gone yesterday, but the people did speak. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
What's your
we had so many listeners that were into bone separator, butt lift surgeries, or really plastic surgery as a whole. We've got quite the...
You struck the chord.
Yeah, we got people that they know quite a bit, and they care. They care. They know all about those surgeries that are available to you out there. So I guess keep that coming in. You put up a poll question just yesterday at Danny and Dusty on X, Twitter. We still call it Twitter. We're not going to change it.
I refuse.
Yeah. Ooh. And not the Are You Pro New Year's resolutions, because I would have voted hell no, which was the resounding winner, 64%.
I'm still surprised it wasn't higher.
You thought it would be higher?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you pro resolution?
Not necessarily pro, but I'm not anti. Yeah. Have you seen the new thing? We made fun of this yesterday, the ins and outs. So instead of resolutions, there's things that are in your life now and things that are out of your life now.
Oh, that's dumb.
Oh, yeah. It's very...
That's a New Year's resolution.
Well, it's very TikTok.
No, but there's a bunch, like in waking up early, in not talking toxic to yourself. It's a whole thing.
So
out staying up past midnight.
My New Year's resolution is to wake up earlier and not talk negatively. Same damn thing.
No, the kids co-opted it.
Come on. You
like,
can't,
like everything.
You can't do that to us. All right. That's not the one that we're going to talk about because we already did. You put up who wins the national championship. Be honest, Duck fans. I know this hurts. Washington or Michigan. 60% coming in for the Washington Huskies. College football playoff championship game is set. And look, I'm surprised that poll is not higher. There must be a lot of just Washington haters that are out there, because the Washington Huskies in that Sugar Bowl victory, they looked like the best team in the country. Mm-hmm. They did. And you could say what you want about Texas and their lack of execution. I mean, they had 2 fumbles that just absolutely crushed them. But you had 2 situations where Washington opened up the door for them with Kalen DeBoer going for it on 4th down and getting stuffed in the first half. And then the clock management at the end of the game where Dylan Johnson, thankfully, Ryan Grubb, their offensive coordinator yesterday, he said X-rays were negative. He does appear to be good to go.
He's in a boot, But
that is great news for UW fans, because he didn't look right really at all during that game. No. There for long stretches, you could tell he was dinged. He was getting worked on a couple of times on the sideline during that game. But it wasn't like, it was only Texas that was leaving the door open and leaving plays out on the field. Washington was doing it too, right? And they still had the 10-point advantage down the stretch. It was still a 2-score game, and it felt comfortable. And when you think about what game control that the College Football Playoff Committee talks about, they looked like they were in control.
It never felt like things were until that game management issue at the end of the game, where you're like, okay, let's hold ours. But for the other, 45 minutes.
And the best player on the field was Michael Penix Jr.
Yes.
Like, Michael Penix Jr. looked like the best player on the football field again. And it wasn't just...
Did you see the stat of the 3 wide receivers?
Yeah.
19 of 20.
19 of 20 for 365 or whatever it was.
353.
Yeah.
Buddy. Turns out, number one, having great wide receivers, very helpful. Putting the ball in the exact spot it needs to be every single time.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
There were some popped plays that, Washington could have made it uglier.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he underthrew Odunze on the one, but he still managed to make the catch.
But there were throws that Michael Penix Jr., they were NFL throws. Yes. And this is something I do not understand about Michael Penix Jr. I don't understand why the knock on him is, he's 24 years old and he's had 2 injuries. The injury history is one that I get a little bit more.
Sure, a little bit more.
He's got 2 ACLs. He's been banged up this season, and you're going to take a lot of hits when you get to the NFL. And I do understand
the durability question. Sure,
but there is really nothing that you sit there and you look at and you go, I don't see where the big knocks are.
He can't process, or he can't make the throw. The man can make every throw on the field.
He makes every throw on the field. He has the best receivers in the country. And
that's something we talked about yesterday. It was Ohio State. We're like, it's Ohio State. It's very clearly Washington. It's very clearly Washington.
As a unit.
Yes.
When you take Odunze, McMillan, Polk, Bernard, they do have the best unit. And then you take their tight end group too. they are really reliable
Yep.
in that group. Their receivers, top to bottom, are the best. And I think Rome Odunze, I love, we'd been having this conversation about Rome Odunze and how good he is all season long. Like, there were finally people going, well, maybe he is the best receiver in the country.
Yeah.
Like, Marvin Harrison is really good. He plays at Ohio State. He got more love coming into the season and throughout the season. People just weren't watching how good Rome Odunze was.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, playing the back half of the year with broken ribs, too.
Yes.
Like, and still being
putting up
that
crooked
dude.
numbers.
He does have the best group of receivers in the country,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not where it is, because we have guys that they haven't gotten the NFL looks and they've been knocked down in NFL draft boards because, yeah, it's really easy when you're thrown to wide open receivers.
Mm-hmm.
The level of difficulty of the throws that Michael Penix Jr. made on New Year's Day,
Yeah, this wasn't Justin Fields at Ohio State throwing to wide open guys over and over again.
and throughout the course of the year,
Mm-hmm.
he puts it in NFL windows. He puts them
inch
in
wide windows.
tight windows, and they are the big time throws. And we've talked about this, like when everyone in the stadium knows where the ball is going and you still thread the needle there, those are NFL type throws.
The seam up the middle where he just flicked it to Dunze was just
I think it was Polk on
Polk,
the touchdown.
Yeah.
Near the end of the half.
it's like good luck.
You can't
Good
defend
luck.
it.
Yeah.
But those throws are legit. Like, when you look at the processing, and a lot of it is like just playing college football for a long time. You've seen all of the looks that college teams are going to throw at you.
And what's interesting thing about the age thing, I was having this debate with somebody else yesterday, it was like, well, Justin Fields is just now 24. And it's like, yeah, and he sucked his first couple years in the league. Maybe it's a good thing that you're getting an older quarterback. Joe Burrow was 24 when he came into the league.
Yep.
This whole like, well, you get him, he's younger. And I'm like, yeah, but he's not as good. Like, unless you're Andrew Luck, unless you're Andrew Luck or you're Trevor Lawrence, a guy who's like, you're just so far ahead of the curve mentally than anybody else.
Yep.
Who's come in at that age and been great? No, you come in and you get the crap kicked out of you and you're not good.
Yep. You go through those lumps, man.
So why not have them take a few more of those lumps in college and have them a bit more prepared when they get to the NFL?
I think it is where the ceiling is, right?
Sure.
I mean, the floor on Penix is higher than some of those young guys because
he's older.
He's older, right?
But it's
the
also
ceiling is nowhere near as high. Like, where the ceiling is, but the ceiling could be pretty damn good.
That's the thing is, like, you're with a guy like Justin Fields, perfect example. You're like, oh, if he starts like being able to put the ball in space, he's got an arm. Well, you look at Penix, he already does that.
Yeah.
You're not worried about whether or not he could put the ball in a tight window.
Yep.
You know that day one. You know that the process is there. This isn't a guy doing RPOs every time. He's running a more traditional offense, making reads.
Yeah.
He has advanced receivers who are making reads, and he's on the same page with those guys, which is, I think, a better reflection of an NFL-style offense, which, like, those knocks, like, I've had this discussion with NBA executives over the last couple of weeks as they prepare for kind of, NBA draft prep season.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that keeps coming back up is, because this draft is kind of low, is like, at some point in time, it has to be, can the dude play?
Yeah.
And I feel like we've gotten away from that in both basketball and football of like, how is this guy a second round pick? How is this guy a fifth? Like, it's like, because he played. Just because he's old doesn't mean, like, Tamani Kamara.
Yeah.
Perfect example. Like, everybody knew he could play. He was like, well, the ceiling's not really there. Yeah, but he can play. Jaime Jaquez Jr. Everybody knew he could play. He's like, well, the ceiling. I'm like, isn't it nice to just have a good player?
And I think that this is where you go. That's where Penix is not a first round guy and is a second round guy.
Sure.
Or, and that's where
Or
he
late
takes
first,
those knocks down. But there's other guys that you sit there and you look at and you go, how on God's green earth is Michael Penix Jr. below, so-and-so? Like, and I'll use this because we're going to see it in the national championship game. I think the better quarterback is Michael Penix Jr. There are draft boards that have J.J. McCarthy over Michael
all
Penix
because
Jr.,
he's younger.
right? And when I see the throws, like, McCarthy can make those throws. Absolutely. He plays in a pro-style offense in Harbaugh and has been under the tutelage of Jim Harbaugh. Those things I get, and I understand those. But I've seen Michael Penix Jr. time and time again get drug into deep water, not be healthy, be throwing to a very limited receiving core that, when healthy, is the best in the country. But throwing to that crew and I don't see how you could have one in front of the other.
Yeah.
Penix is that guy. He is really damn good. And Washington looked more complete than Michigan or Alabama did in that game. Alabama had no business winning the Rose Bowl.
No.
The fact that they almost did was Michigan's special teams undoing.
Shooting itself in the foot over and over again.
Repeatedly. And that is one of those things where, all right, Michigan got drug into deep water and they survived, right?
But it's the same way we talked about Washington all season long.
They have gotten it. They're the first team to have 10 games decided by one possession and win all of them in college football.
Good God.
They've gotten 10 in a row. Think about that.
At some point in time, you have to go, well, it's not luck.
But it is like you sit there and at times there's stretches of games where you go, and this is what I love about football. You'll go, what is wrong with this team? Like, why aren't they imposing their will on them? And that was Washington, because injuries throughout the course of the year, they were so limited in so many spots that there were games where you're like, they have no bit. What are they doing messing with this fire? But when it came down to it, when it came to crunch time,
There's Penix on a Dunze.
they made the play that they needed to, whether they were healthy or not. That was impressive. It was another quality win. And again, like look, I'm not going to be one that's like, hey, let's go Washington, win one for the Pac-12 on the way out. No way.
It is kind of funny, though.
You have to be honest, and you have to give credit where the credit is. They're 14-0. And they have been impressive at every damn
They have a
turn
chance to
this
go
season.
15-0.
They absolutely do. The national champion will be undefeated. And there is nothing in me that says that this game is going to be a blowout. It's going to be another one-possession game for the Washington Huskies. And I think that, like, we're getting a lot of text on the Vancouver Ford text line. You know, if Washington wins this game, should Oregon be second? No. I mean, they have 2 losses, right? But I think that makes you, like, you sit there, it shouldn't make you feel better because of the crippling way that both those losses happened. But you sit there and you go, yeah, Oregon was pretty damn good this year, and you can't take that away from them. Washington, just a hair better than everybody else this whole season.
The thing that I keep coming back to is this being a Big Ten game, essentially.
Yeah.
Is it's going to be so funny watching USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington going into the Big Ten next year, all with new quarterbacks, and all of them having better quarterback play than basically every school in the Big Ten. That conference is just not prepared for that level of quarterback play.
It's going to be.
It's like, that doesn't mean like tooting the Pac-12 horn. It's just the Big Ten, the level of quarterback play has just been so down. For a while now that you're just like, you just sit there and like, well, Ohio State is like, I think we've been proven out that with the exception of CJ Stroud, not great.
Hey, does anybody know this one? This text, Vancouver Ford text line says, if you draft Penix, does the sideline cabinet come with the pick? What is he doing in there?
I don't know. Huffing glue?
What is he doing? I've never seen anything like it. Does anybody know?
This is probably
Smelling salts?
This is probably speaking out of turn. Somebody told me that they know somebody at UW that said he has like,
Joe Boo?
Not mental issues, but anxiety issues.
Okay.
And like that he like
it's his calming corner.
Yeah, like to go just get his zen back. I don't know how much
puts his head into there.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like a sensory deprivation kind of thing, or to just like go in there and yell, or whatever.
I mean, I'm all for like mental health. I've just never seen anything like this.
Like,
if that's what does it for me, it's pretty damn effective.
Yeah, whatever it is, like that's again. Somebody told me like
weird
is affiliated with UW, and I was like, that's at least believable.
Can we get that in the studio?
We actually do have them. They're the fart boxes.
Well, you can go and you can bury your face in the Kim Jong-un pillow that still is over here. Our boss threw it away, and it's found its way out of the trash.
I'll tell you what, right now, I am not putting my face anywhere near Kim Jong-un.
I think you would. I think you would. All right. Washington is in.
Indeed.
They played pretty damn well. I think that was a horrific throw by Quinn Ewers in the end zone.
Oh, God.
It was that close. I mean, if he puts that on the line and he back shoulders him,
he's got a chance.
It's 37-37 with an extra point to win it. I mean, that's how close it is. But that was an incredible play by the DB. He just came in,
Punched it out, yeah.
raked the hands, and boom. UW wins, and they're in. Now they're playing a Michigan team that survived their overtime. And J.J. McCarthy opened himself up to some shots, just not the ones that Bama were unable to land on. That after Will with SportsCenter. yeah, I guess the sign stealing scandal wasn't that big of a deal anyway.
Well, don't tell that to the SEC lunks. We had Feinbaum on ESPN talking about how if Michigan wins the title, is this title tainted?
No.
I don't know. Was it
Well, he
tainted
did
when
say
Alabama's running bagmen for 2 decades? No.
2 decades. 7.
Well, I mean, effectively running bagmen for 2 decades.
Yeah. Look, there's a lot of SEC folks that are
Bitter.
a little panicky right now.
Yeah, because they're in a transition period.
The two things that and I've always said that they will level the playing field, and I think they're going to continue to tweak and find ways to make sure it's not as out of control as it is. The transfer portal and NIL. It has allowed other schools and other conferences, really top to bottom, to go in and pick off the talent that made the SEC so deep and so good for so long. And it has been. I mean, look, like the top programs and the bottom programs of the SEC, they're not immune to guys leaving out of the portal now. And you just look at
one of Alabama's top offensive linemen just hit the portal this morning.
Terrence Ferguson. Oh. Yeah, 6'4", 350-pounder. Not too bad. Like, this is where you sit there and they're going, all right, well, we had the advantage before because they had their covert system of bagmen that used to pay guys all the time.
And they backfilled. So their depth was unmatched.
No doubt about it. Now there's flexibility, and you're starting to see that get whittled away every year. Now, that's not to say, look, take a look at the Pac-12, the Big Ten, the ACC, and the Big 12. Like, guys are leaving too. But the SEC, they just used to hoard the riches. That is no longer. And I think there is an element of the bitterness coming because here we are in the 14 playoff and there's going to be no SEC team in the championship game. And that hurts them to their core. But the saying that this is a tainted championship for Michigan, look, I mean, they've gone through everything this year.
Yeah.
And at every turn they've kind of answered and they've responded, right? I mean, Harbaugh hasn't been their coach for nearly half their games this season.
Well, it's funny. Remember Kirby Smart saying, yeah, we knew Michigan stole signs. We just beat them. Now, Alabama knew Michigan stole signs. And what happened?
Well, and J.J. McCarthy today stepping in it where he said about 80% of teams in college football steal signs. We actually had to adapt because in 2019-20, Ohio State was stealing our signs, which is legal. We had to get up to the level they were at and make it an even playing field. And that is short-sighted because, like, that's like saying the Astros, you can't use that defense because what you did
was take it further.
Was you took it 2 steps further. And you can't sit there and be like, well, everybody else was doing it, so we did it.
As somebody who likes to respond in kind and then take it 2 steps further, I get it. Like, I get it, but
you kicked me in the shin. You stabbed me. Well,
shouldn't have kicked me in the shins.
But that is, and there is like the kernels of truth in all of that, right? I think it's far larger than 80% of teams in college football steal signs.
I'd say it's probably 100.
Every single team during the course of a game has a couple of support staffers, GAs, that are looking across the field and trying to decipher what those signs are. It's like you try to figure out who's live, who's dead, who's the actual guy giving the signals. Do the boards back behind him mean anything? And I'm here to tell you, a lot of teams, those boards that they put up, they don't mean anything anymore. Yeah. They mean nothing anymore because they'll change them from game to game and really like half to half. They'll say, all right, time to change it up. We're going to go, this guy is live for formation. Board is there, or board is usually live for formation. And then play will go to a different person on the sideline. Like you try to mix it up and confuse people. Well, there's an element of that. But having Connor Stallion sitting like front row at the Rose Bowl, that picture was hilarious, by the way.
No mustache and the head shaved.
Head shaved, no facial hair. And Chase Winovich, former Michigan linebacker, he's the one that snaps the picture, tags Stallions in it, and he's given like the meme picture of that girl who's on the like looking over as the house is on fire with a little smirk. Like that was like, oh boy. Okay. And I think what has people like upset with Michigan is like their fans just showing there's not like you got us. Yes. They're like, no, nobody was doing what they were doing. No. right? Like they took it way further.
Are you sure you're not a Michigan fan now?
And he was, I'm 100% sure. This is purely coincidental. But to have like Stallions still there and like Michigan fans are like, awesome, he was at the game. Come on. And now JJ McCarthy's just getting raked over the coals for this. And
which is funny because the last couple of days for JJ McCarthy have been pretty interesting because Harbaugh called McCarthy the greatest quarterback in UM history.
yeah. And Tom Brady agreed.
Yeah.
Tom Brady co-signed because look, Tom Brady wasn't as good as JJ McCarthy when he was at Michigan.
He was good, but like just good.
Yeah. Like, I mean, Greasy, you know?
Yeah, no, Greasy was definitely up there, yeah.
Robinson. I mean, no, but Harbaugh himself being one of the great Michigan quarterbacks, like they've had some good ones. Like, and when Harbaugh says that, he's the guy that he's seen a lot of those quarterbacks. He was one of those guys. And
Back-to-back college football playoffs.
yeah, I mean, they have had some really solid quarterback play. But I mean, when you look at it, I mean, I don't know. Like JJ McCarthy is good. I wouldn't call him. Is that the great? Is it really the greatest Michigan quarterback
Probably.
ever? Chad Henne.
I mean,
who would be the greatest Michigan quarterback of all time then?
No one has
Elvis
had this,
Gerbach?
No one has had the success that he's had. Now you can say, is that success because of him or because of all those around him? But wins are a quarterback stat, and if you look at pure wins since JJ McCarthy has been there, he kind of fits that mold.
Yeah, he's good. I mean, he's gone to the playoff twice now. He's in the college football playoff championship game. Yeah. I mean,
it's really not.
I'll go ahead and say JJ McCarthy, best Michigan quarterback.
It's really not that like decorated of a quarterback school.
Todd Collins. They got a lot of just solid guys.
Yeah, as I'm saying, like it's not like, and even then, it wasn't. A lot of these guys were better in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. I'm looking at it right now. Like you got Harbaugh, Gerbach, Todd Collins, Greasy, Tom Brady, Chad Henne, John Navarre, Denard Robinson. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I'll say it. JJ McCarthy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's just
Ryan Mallett played there. I forgot Ryan
before he
Mallett played
transferred.
there.
Yeah,
Huh. Yeah. Well, that's a weird comment for Harbaugh to say because I feel like Harbaugh always feels that he would be the best.
right. So for him to do that, maybe just turn the corner.
No, he's not.
Nah.
Jim Harbaugh will never change. Did you see the interview that his parents did with like a local news station?
No.
After the Rose Bowl game?
Uh-huh.
Oh, we gotta
find that? Okay.
Ortner, I'm gonna send you the audio of this. If you have not heard this audio, it explains
Everything?
why Jim Harbaugh is the weirdo that he is. It is his mother and his father doing a local news interview, and you just hear the gibberish, and you're like, yeah, it all tracks now. It all makes sense these days. 503-864-6326. That's the Vancouver Ford text line. This is Danny Dusty on The Fan.
It's the
degenerates. But I love you all. All right. Will Ortner is working on grabbing that audio for us.
Is he, though?
I think he is.
I don't know.
College football!
Because there was an...
Guys are getting like 4 inches out of it.
Oh, buddy. That one's just going to live forever.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, that's
Giant bag of meat.
That's going to live forever, dude. Like, you can't.
I knew where it was going
Yeah.
as soon as I was like, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Because there's no getting around what I was going to say. Ride me.
That's a good one. I don't remember that
That's
one.
a good one.
Yeah. That's a really good one.
That sounds like a request.
Okay. Your text on the J.J. McCarthy thing, J.J. was insinuating that Ohio State was also cheating. They didn't take it 2 steps further, just to OSU's level. He's calling OSU cheats. They just never got caught. Yeah, I don't
think there's a whole Ponzi scheme to pay off people.
People are
Vacuums were not involved.
reading way too far into this thing as well. Like, J.J. McCarthy's admitting that Michigan players knew. No, he's not. He's just saying what a college student would say who's in a locker room where all of his guys feel like they're being attacked, and he's like, we didn't do it. Like, he's got Jim Harbaugh as his coach. What do you expect him to say? It's like us against the world.
Yeah.
Like, he's insulated by it all, so he's going to be like, yeah, everybody else was doing it. That's what my coaches are telling me. No, they weren't. Like, that's not what they were doing, dude.
It's a little bit of Stockholm syndrome. A
Yeah.
little bit of Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, a little bit. Are we good with that audio yet, Ortner?
It takes a while for it to get in the system.
Okay.
It is. I am waiting. Oh, would you like it?
Yeah. Okay. So here, let me set this up real quick.
Just got in.
Jim Harbaugh's parents, they did an interview on the televisions after the Rose Bowl on the field. Jack and I don't know what his mom's name is. She looks like a Linda. She is, but she isn't.
Martha, maybe?
Sure. They did an interview on the field with channel CBS 7 in Michigan after the Rose Bowl game. And you tell me, is this not the most Jim Harbaugh thing of all time? Like, you wonder, how did he end up this way? How is he one way? John is complete opposite. These are the Harbaugh parents on the field.
Your son talks about the two of you all the time. He's talked about this moment coming for this program for a long time. How do you put into words your emotions right now?
Are you kidding me? They won! What's better than that?
We have a thing in our family that we use for a long time, and it goes like this. Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
I know you get tense during these games. Were you on the edge of your seat throughout this one?
Well, of course, we were yelling and screaming. That's what we're
Biggest play
supposed
in
to
the
do.
game was right before the long drive. Jackie decided that we should switch seats,
Oh my goodness.
and I moved to her seat. She moved to mine, and this is the result that we get.
All right, so you'll have to do that in the national championship at a certain time, maybe a little earlier in that
The
game.
game, yeah, for everybody's happiness.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations
Thank
to you
you
guys.
so
We'll see you
much.
again.
Congratulations.
Certified lunatics, and that's why everyone in their family's name starts with a J.
That's Jacqueline. Jack and Jacqueline have John
Jim.
and Jim Harbaugh,
And
whose
then-
son Jay is the special teams coordinator for Oregon State assistant. Jay
also a
Harbaugh.
special teams coordinator for Michigan this weekend, huh?
Yeah. That's him. That's
It's not
the
a
same
great,
guy.
It's not a great day for him.
Those guys, that family, a bunch of crazy people. Like, you wonder how Jim Harbaugh gets to the point where he's saying, yeah, Jesus would have been a 5-star recruit. Like, did you hear him in postgame? He's like, the whole thing came full circle. 365 degrees. It's like, yeah, we get it. We know what a circle is, but
365
full 365.
365 days, 360 degrees, same
The
thing.
360,
Yeah.
365 calendar goes around too. We get, He is a special dude, and his parents are just as crazy.
You know what I just learned?
What?
His sister,
Yeah,
Joni Harbaugh,
of course.
married to Tom Crean, the head basketball coach at Indiana.
Which also
Also a crazy person.
yes,
Very crazy.
What do you think?
I had no
What do
idea.
you think that kind of crazy attracts? Normal?
Harbaugh light.
Yeah.
Well, usually there's a crazy one and there's a more sane one. And
No,
even out.
no.
Did you just hear the 55 seconds of audio we played? Like, they didn't grow up in that.
No.
No, they grew up with, like, it's when
It's one trying to outdo the. Once you cross a crazy threshold, there's no like opposite attract.
Yeah, this is true. This is very
Like
true.
once you cross that crazy threshold, the only thing that attracts anything else is more crazy.
And I also have to ask the question. When you heard Jack Harbaugh say, "We've got a saying in our family, who's got it better than us? Nobody," and she yelled it alongside him,
You know it's real.
they are the real life O'Doyles.
Yeah. O'Doyle rules.
Like, they were going to youth sports games, and everybody's like, "Oh God, here are the Harbaughs."
All wearing matching striped shirts.
Yeah, like if there would have been a cliff and they would have been like, "Do not drive over ledges," like, nobody's got it better than us. They would have O'Doyled themselves right off that edge.
Stupid O'Doyles.
You tell me what to do. Like,
Stupid Cliff.
I thought that was just like a Michigan saying, because in the All or Nothing, they say it after every meeting. Like that's how they would break their.
That's
meetings.
Harbaugh.
Willie Taggart was saying that when he came to Oregon, like he would do that same shtick because he grew up in the Harbaugh.
Oh,
realm.
so he was a McDaniels type trying to do the Patriot way with the Raiders. He was trying to bring the Harbaughness to Oregon.
Yeah, very
it's so
similarly, it was
gross.
just fake.
Get your own slant. I'm going to go full Colangelo here. Find your own slant.
Find a new slant.
Find a new slant. It's an entirely normal sized collar.
All right. All right. 503-864-6326. That is the Vancouver Ford text line. Coming up, hour number 2, we segue to a little bit of the NFL. As Joe Flacco admits something that Joe Flacco admits something that is a harsh reality. Next on The Fan.
Every
99.5 HD2 on your HD radios. Thank you. Or listening on the Service Patriots podcast. Wherever you find your podcast, Service Patriots is your home comfort solution for all your heating and air conditioning needs. Check out the latest special offers for all of our listeners at servicepatriots.com/thefan. All right, we start hour number 2 with a little NFL. Joe Flacco, starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns now. Joe Flacco. He is he was asked today if he can see the way his age and experience have affected the locker room. And his response was quite telling. You never heard Tom Brady say this because he always wanted to pretend he was young and maybe his face was way younger. But
well, I remember his wife said he was having, it was Stafford was having trouble relating to the younger players.
That's right.
Yeah.
Flacco said, if I messed up in high school, I could be some of these kids' dads.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong at all. He's not wrong. If a rookie is like 20 years old, Joe Flacco's 38.
I mean, Rodgers is 40 now. He was at camp, and who's the young receiver they brought in?
Well, they had Garrett Wilson, who said he looked up to him and watched him as a kid.
Yeah, there's another one that they brought in, too. Who was it that came from the Chiefs? God dang it.
Is that what it feels like for you guys when you work with me?
It was Hardman. Hardman was like, man, I've been watching you for like 20 years. I was watching you as a kid. He's like, how old are you? I'm like, 25. And I'm like, and you can just see the blood on Aaron's face just go.
Wait, how old are you, Will?
Just turned 26.
So what year were you born? Was he? What year
97.
Yeah, no, I was only 13.
Yeah, no.
I wasn't doing that. Not quite yet. Not quite there.
You guys just aren't old enough. So when they hire the next younger version of me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the next generation, it will have that. Those tough questions will have to be asked. Yes.
Terrifying.
Joe Flacco will not be starting this weekend as the Browns go to the Bengals.
Good.
He is too good. He's too good to risk. You got to save him. And do you see that he is going to be the 5th starting quarterback for the Browns this season? Can you name all 5 Browns starting quarterbacks this year?
No.
You can't?
So,
I don't have the list up, but
Watson, Flacco, DTR.
Yep, you got 3.
PJ Walker.
PJ
Dobbs.
And Josh Dobbs, yeah. They've got 5 starting quarterbacks, which makes them...
That was actually easier than I thought.
Yeah. It's the first time in 35 years that a team will start 5 quarterbacks in a season.
I feel like the Browns did that before.
And they are... No, like even when they're dysfunction, like 5 starting quarterbacks is a lot. You have to think of it like, you're almost going every 3rd game. You got a new starting quarterback. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but they had a period, man.
Where they just ran through them.
They just ran through
like even
guys.
when you look at that, there was like 3 a year.
3, yeah.
But they would do 3 a year, and it would be like a rotating cast for 3 consecutive years. So it just seemed like that much more. What they're doing, though, is they're not just starting 5 quarterbacks in a season and sucking. They're playoff bound. Like, they're going to the playoffs. And when you think about it, like, they're resting Joe Flacco. You said Joe Flacco's too valuable. Joe Flacco, if I ask you this question, he is the best quarterback in the AFC playoffs.
Ooh, in the AFC playoffs? Ooh.
Like, if you're looking at how it'll probably square away. You probably got
worst
Baltimore
quarterback in the AFC playoffs, but
I don't think so.
Okay.
If Gardner Minshew's in, he's not.
Well, okay, so I have it as the Texans. If the Texans are in, you get CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
Flacco's more experienced, certainly Super Bowl winning quarterback. Had that run that got him paid, all those kind of things. So maybe that you get to give him the nod and not being rattled. But talent wise, Stroud, Allen, Tua, Mahomes, Lawrence, Lamar. In that group, he's the least talented, but he's clearly number 1, the most experienced.
Mm-hmm.
The only one you can even remotely come close with is Mahomes as far as playoffs.
No doubt about it.
But I don't want to play him. I don't want to play him.
I like Joe Flacco doesn't scare me. Like he would not. Their defense terrifies.
That's what I mean. Like their defense is incredible, and he's above replacement level starter.
And Joe Flacco has been a steadying force for the Browns this year. And to pick a guy up like him off the scrap heap and have him play the way he has, Yes. But that has been fantastic. And you will take that 10 times out of 10 if you're a Browns fan.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Flacco still turns the ball over an ungodly amount.
He's flinging it, man. He's just let it go.
He's got 8 interceptions in 5 games.
How many touchdowns though?
13.
Huh?
13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions in 5 games. Like you want to lean on your defense, right? But that's why I'm like, all right, look, if Joe Flacco's going to give us plenty of opportunities, especially a playoff team, you're going to create a turnover and say, if they end up playing Jacksonville in that first round, right? That seems to be the most common matchup.
They've locked up the 5 seed,
but it's 5-4 would be Jacksonville. There's like one scenario where I think Jacksonville doesn't win the division if they lose and Indy wins. I think is that the case? If Indy wins and Jacksonville loses to Tennessee, Jacksonville's the 7 spot and Indy is the 5 or 4 seed. So then it would be whether it's Indy
actually no. So that actually presents a pretty interesting proposition because Lamar Jackson is now out. Tyler Huntley is going to start for the Ravens. If the Steelers win that game,
okay, and
Jacksonville loses and the Colts win, Jacksonville's out. The Steelers and the Colts will be in.
And then Joe Flacco moves up the AFC quarterbacks power rankings.
If all of a sudden the Steelers and Colts are in, now that path for Cleveland, I mean, you're looking at them as a from a dark horse to a real contender to be in the AFC title game.
Boy, so okay,
wow.
So that scenario would be Pittsburgh,
Steelers win, Colts win, Jags lose. Then Indy is your 4 seed. Cleveland is your 5 seed. No,
Pittsburgh is your 6.
Indy's your 4 seed. Yes.
And then Buffalo goes to the 7 seed.
Buffalo would actually be 2.
Well, if Buffalo loses to Miami, if they beat Miami, they're the 2 seed, and Miami is the 6. Yeah, I think Miami wins that game.
So if you flip that, those 2 flip seeds.
Yeah. Wow.
Actually, that would put Buffalo 7, Pittsburgh 6. So you can there is, and we'll talk about this actually probably next. The stuff that is happening this weekend, even though these quarterbacks are sitting and guys are resting, seeding is on the line. It is not on the line for the Ravens or the Browns.
Yeah.
Those 2 are locked up.
This text says, would Joe Flacco be in the running for MVP had he started for the Browns all year? Dude is mauling. No, he wouldn't. Lamar Jackson one is playing that much better. And think about it. 5 games, 8 interceptions. That's who Joe Flacco is. Joe Flacco is a gunslinger.
Yeah.
He throws the ball a mile downfield and
still got it too.
He will take sacks. He will throw interceptions. Like he'll be a turnover machine. Think about that. If he played in 15 games, he'd have 24 interceptions this year. 39 touchdowns, but 24 picks. He's just going to be out there. Like, this has been the perfect storm for Joe Flacco.
And remember,
he could go unconscious.
That Super Bowl run was all of a sudden he stopped turning the ball over.
Yeah. If he can do that,
then it gets scary hours.
The Browns become exactly what the Baltimore Ravens were when he was the quarterback, which is an elite defense.
Defense with weapons on offense and a quarterback that could stretch you the whole length of the field.
Doesn't screw it up. He's got to do that.
Look, I'm getting a little goosebumpy.
Yeah.
As much as I hate the Deshaun Watson part of the Browns.
Actually, tell
me how much fun it wouldn't be if the Browns just ran to the title.
This is the only way that I'm going to root for the Browns. This would be perfect because you go out and you pay Deshaun Watson all that money.
And they're stuck with that.
And his ass is on the bench. And Joe Flacco comes in off the scrap heap, riding Frontier Airlines. Do you remember when the video surfaced of him? He was riding in coach on a flight from Philadelphia to Cleveland.
Him and Anthony Simons.
And it's just like, somebody's like, what are you doing here? He's like, you'll find out tomorrow. He's like, oh, sure enough, he signs with the Browns. That would be the only way. And then that franchise gets just straddled with having Deshaun Watson's contract
$50 million
for years.
on their contract.
Yeah, and then they can all go to hell because I want this franchise to win for their fans, not for their owners, and not for Deshaun Watson. Their fans deserve better. And this would be so poetic to it being the former Baltimore quarterback that comes in and wins it for the Browns. That would be just great. It would just be It'd make my heart warm.
That's fantastic. I love it.
All right. 503-864-6326. You mentioned the scenarios that are at play this week.
They are abundant.
Week 18 sucks from a game-to-game standpoint. As an agent of chaos,
Oh, there's so much that can
I
happen.
love this
So much
weekend.
can happen.
We'll talk about it next. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Hello, sports fan.
I feel like Eddie Murphy at 60 years old is not going to be quite the same.
Yeah. I don't know. Coming to America 2 was okay.
Also,
I didn't mind that.
The things that were said in the first Beverly Hills Cop
Yeah.
can't be said anymore.
No. Eddie Murphy's entire, like, okay.
Delirious can't exist in today's
Delirious
world.
or Raw.
Yeah.
No.
No.
It's amazing he hasn't been canceled.
He was just so funny,
Yeah.
and those were so funny that we all laughed so hard at them, and we went, well, we all laughed at them, so we can't really say anything about them.
I think he's like the last guy that can get away with, like, look, it was a different time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel that way anymore. Like, like,
or even if he did, he's like, I'm Eddie Murphy.
you are Eddie Murphy.
You can't cancel the guy that made Dr. Dolittle.
Or the Nutty Professor.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. That Nutty Professor family scene where everybody's just farting at the dinner table.
Hercules, Hercules, Hercules.
Young Dusty Hare thought that was a cinematic masterpiece. It was the best thing I'd ever seen. And the fact that it was Eddie Murphy playing all of those characters,
Yeah, that's great.
it was the best. If I go back and watch that movie now, I'd probably be like, this is a terrible movie. But I loved it in the moment. I love that movie in the moment. All right. Well, I'm excited for Beverly Hills Cop 3. I think everybody's coming back.
I think everybody's back, yeah.
Except for, is Balky Bontakamus going to be in it? Remember?
Yeah.
Who's in that other than Eddie Murphy?
Well, you got the tall guy who plays
Curly hair,
he plays the stepdad in the Santa Claus. He's a cop. The short guy who is on like Law and Order with the mustache, who's a cop.
Judge Reinhold.
Judge Reinhold Yeah, he's in it. He's going to be in it
Is
again.
Judy in it?
Judy?
Well, you brought Judge Reinhold. Is his sister Judy going to be there?
No, is it Judge Judy?
Oh, he's not a judge. I guess I missed that.
Okay, I'm stopping. If I could,
John Ashton was the old crotchety cop.
yeah. See, you gotta. They're having all those. Paul Reiser's going to be in it. What's Paul Reiser been up to lately?
Ooh,
Elevating himself.
ooh, and Kevin Bacon.
What?
Kevin Bacon's in this one, in the new one.
Where's Kevin Bacon been? He did those commercials with his daughter, the Hyundai commercials. Where's Kevin Bacon been?
Getting loose.
That feels like
Footloose.
that feels a lot like where is Ja? Where is Ja Rule when I need him? What does Ja think about this?
That's Dave Chappelle.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. That's where is Kevin Bacon? It's very much like where's Ja?
Do you see the Dave Chappelle's in it again?
Oh, I watched it. I watched it
with his transphobic jokes that like you're sitting there and you're like things you can't say in 2023 or 24 now.
There you go.
That's it, Dave. And Dave is unrelenting because there's this prevailing thought about comedy that comedy it supersedes
Everything. Yeah.
race, gender, sexuality, all of that stuff.
I'm of the opinion that it should.
I think that it does to an extent. Like I do to an extent, but then I also think that Chappelle takes maybe some personal attacks at times and maybe takes it a little bit too far.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like I mean, and there's that line though that Chappelle's he's been tiptoeing on it, and then he steps on one side of it,
And some
and then
might
jumps
say
on the other side.
habitual line stepper.
Habitual line stepper. But the clip from his new stand-up special that has me just dying is he addressed the getting tackled on stage.
Oh yeah,
during the comedy show, and how all of the celebrities went
all
and
beat the hell out of the guy.
It's fantastic.
Oh yeah, we all took turns beating the crap out of him.
Yeah, like I would pay for that. Like I wish
God.
they need that footage.
Jamie
released.
Foxx in a cowboy hat kicking the crap out of somebody trying to stab Dave Chappelle. Good God!
All right, I don't. This has all gone away from us.
Yeah, it has.
All right, let's talk NFL playoff
You sure?
standings. And
Okay.
not really. I'm not really sure. I want to know what Kevin Bacon's been doing. To be honest,
Right?
He had a TV show for a little bit.
I will say he looks. Speaking of people who look like leather, my guy is. You can't stretch the skin anymore.
He should. Like Kevin Bacon's the guy that should. Like I'm not going to fault Kevin Bacon for anything. He has given us so much, and he was a heartthrob back in the day. Go ahead. From The Air Up There to Wild Things to Tremors, Footloose, he's an icon. He can have rubber face if he wants to. Will Ortner, for those watching on YouTube, Will Ortner's giving like the shaky hand of Kevin Bacon being an icon. Kevin Bacon is an icon.
Do you
Seven
understand? 6 degrees.
6 degrees?
6 degrees. Of
Don't even
separation.
need 7.
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
You've listed a lot of movies that I've never seen.
Well,
Now,
that's
I've
not
seen-
saying a lot, Will.
Well, Eddie Murphy is greatness. Eddie Murphy made
is
me
greatness.
watch Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
I like Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Eddie
Murphy's
Murphy,
great. He's a comedian.
6 degrees
Icon.
of Kevin Bacon is an actual developed board game.
Kevin Bacon has not made me watch any of his movies. Kevin Bacon, not greatness.
Kevin Bacon is greatness.
And that's
You
why
take,
it's better.
If you go to
take that back.
go to oracleofbacon.org and you type in any celebrity name and they will draw you a line from Kevin Bacon to that
Boy.
person.
You know, you go to Kevin Bacon's IMDb page, and I'll tell you one thing. I've said, what has Kevin Bacon been doing? It's a lot, but it's a lot of nothing. Have you ever seen the movie Smilf? Or TV show Smilf?
The TV show's name is Smilf, and you're telling me that man is greatness?
Yeah.
How
And
dare you?
the best thing about this is because
You stop.
it's an actual library of Kevin Bacon, the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
So if you type in Denzel Washington was in Devil in a Blue Dress with Maury Shaken, was in Where the Truth Lies with Kevin Bacon. That is according to the website, Denzel Washington has a Bacon number of 2.
See?
Denzel Washington, greatness, icon. Kevin Bacon, not an icon. Isn't he married to Kira Sedgwick?
I don't know.
Is that his wife?
Mystic River, Hollow Man, Wild Things. Just for a lot of reasons.
For a lot of reasons.
I mean, Wild Things, just so good.
Is that the one about the book? The kids' book?
Yeah, it's definitely
No, that's where the Wild Things are. Yeah, that's
Although,
not it.
There's some wild things in that movie.
The River Wild. Air Up There, A Few Good Men,
Oh,
JFK.
God. Air Up There? Oh, my
Yeah.
God. That's greatness.
Yeah, Air Up There, where the college coach who has a bum knee goes to Africa to find the next big thing and joins the tribe.
He found Ibu Baji before Ibu Baji.
And he joins the tribe and plays in the basketball game.
Great.
So I just don't know who you're. Flatliners,
Funny sports side note.
Tremors.
NBA Africa
And who are
is
you?
going to churn out some real prospects this year. And Ibu Baji was the first to sign an NBA contract. You're going to see a big pipeline coming from Africa here in the next 3 or 4 years. All because of the Air Up There.
All because of Kevin Bacon, Will.
Here, give me
Bacon
Footloose.
did nothing. Adam Sandler
Friday
did
the
more.
13th.
Okay, you want to see
Animal House. All is well. All is well.
saw
Remain
Animal
calm.
Wait,
You've
what?
never seen Animal House?
No, and in Friday the 13th, he dies first.
So?
I told you his tombstone take.
Will's?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
His tombstone take where Kurt Russell's character, Wyatt Earp, is better than Doc Holliday's, Val Kilmer's.
Kurt Russell's greatness.
Ooh. Look, I immediately I would like to just admonish young Will Ortner, but from a stoic leader, Wyatt Earp is that man. From a one-liner standpoint, Doc Holliday steals the show.
Doc Holliday carries the movie.
Yeah.
Doc Holliday
I'll
is
be
great
your
in that movie.
huckleberry.
Val Kilmer is good. I'm starting to understand why people from like the 90s really like him. Wyatt Earp is so much cooler.
Then Doc Holliday?
No, not even
Not
close.
cool. He's not cooler than Doc
No,
Holliday.
you kidding me?
He's awesome. He literally takes revenge
I
for
think
his
I
family.
hate him.
Doc
Oh, no,
Holliday
I'm
is
sure
cool.
I hate him.
Kurt Russell, cooler.
I feel like I am letting you down as your mentor.
Doc Holliday literally holds up a poker table after getting caught. Holds them at gunpoint.
But he does that because Kurt Russell has his shotgun underneath the table and he knows Kurt Russell's going to
This
save him.
early in the movie, buddy. Him and Big Nose Kane.
Oh, I know what yeah, no,
Yeah.
you're talking about
He's-
the other one.
He's doing
The
he's-
twirly cup?
Yeah, he's all liquored up, doing shot glass spinning on his finger. Come on, man.
Comes out with a street sweeper?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The shotgun.
Wyatt Earp is better.
God.
He's a longer life. He's the reason we have all the old Westerns.
This text says somebody said that Donald Sutherland has the highest bacon number of any modern actor. And that is not true. Because wasn't he in Animal House with Donald Sutherland?
Donald Sutherland?
Yeah, Kiefer's dad.
Yeah.
Donald Sutherland was the professor in. Now, does that mean
He was
the
also
lowest?
He was also in JFK with Bacon.
Yeah. So
Lowest number, perhaps.
I guess if you're saying in the rankings, number one.
Yeah,
So,
so
it's just like one because it was
Donald
Bacon's
Sutherland
first
has,
movie.
has a Bacon number of 1.
Yeah, because he was in Bacon's first movie, Animal House.
Give me a random name. Any name.
Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart. Find link. Bacon number of 2. Kevin Hart was in Ride Along 2 with
Unbelievable.
Sherry Shepard, who was in Beauty Shop with Kevin Bacon.
I wonder how many actors like we've just inflated Kevin Bacon.
No, man, that man has been in a million movies. Him and Nick Cage. That
Well, no, like I bet Samuel L. Jackson. I bet Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, it was
You can do it more. He's been in everything.
Well, you know what else? He's also been in the Tarantino universe, which opens you up to.
Yeah, because
A
everyone
million
does stuff with
things.
Tarantino. But it sounds to
Snakes
me
on a
like,
Plane.
Yeah.
like Kevin
What?
Bacon just did a bunch of movies, so now a bunch of people know who he is. That's what it sounds like to me.
I just go back to under your bridge where you came from, you little troll.
I'm already
Little
under
troll.
the bridge, bud.
You little troll.
I'm under the bridge right now, bud. Welcome to the show.
All right.
Unbelievable.
Well, now that I want to just whack Will over the head with a
Pause.
Kim Jong-un pillow. What?
Nothing.
No, whack in the mobster sense.
Yeah.
All right, coming up next, we do have our worst day on the web, and boy, this one's
Tremors.
It's always the fun. Yeah. Oh my
Have
god.
you seen Tremors?
Tremors is greatness.
Never heard of it.
We're failing.
No,
We're failing as radio parents. We are failing.
yeah, we are. But I feel like his parents have failed him.
You take that up with them. You're probably not wrong.
I want your parents' numbers.
I'll give them to you. You can call them whenever you want.
Unbelievable. All right, coming up next, we do have our worst day on the web. But first, we have Big Bull Bets with a Sports Center update. 4th, they were supposed to unveil the drawings, the renderings for the new stadium in Las Vegas. Keep in mind, they have gotten a boatload of money from the state of Nevada already.
$600 million.
$600 million. That's $0.6 billion. Well, they postponed it, claiming they didn't want to step on the toes of the aftermath of 2 Nevada state troopers. R.I.P. In all seriousness, I don't want to glaze over that, but I'm glazing over it in the sense of it's disgusting.
Yeah,
because they use the death of Nevada troopers to hide the fact that they're broke boys. They have been quietly showing the renderings around town to casino magnates because they don't have the money, which is really interesting because MLB greenlit this without any of this being done. And we have highlighted this over and over and over again throughout the last, year and a half that we've been on air.
Yeah, they are broke. They are terrible owners. And actually, no, we don't need to say they're broke because they're not. They are. John J. Fisher and his family are not broke.
No, they just refuse to put up their own money. When I was we had him on the show, ESPN Las Vegas and VSiN Live host John Von Tobel. For those that don't know, the Von Tobel family is original Vegas founders. So he's very, very well plugged into the background.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him when I was in Vegas at Summer League about this whole situation. And remember when we had him on, he said flat out, they are not going to get all the money. The fact that they got that money was that was a shock.
Yes.
They are not going to give them essentially $600 million is half of the 1.2-ish billion that they need to make this happen.
Yep.
And remember, they took that money from teachers.
Yeah, that was the big thing. The teachers wanted to hold up the state house because they're like, wait a minute, you guys are saying you don't have the funds to pay us,
but you're going to give $600 million to somebody out of town to build a new stadium for a summer sport in the smallest market in baseball, where it's 120 degrees in the summer.
Yeah, that's the one right there.
So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and go down this road real quick of just saying the A's might be the Portland A's when this is all said and done, because I don't see, Dusty, I think this might fall apart.
I don't know how Major League Baseball can continue to go on with him as the owner, because part of ownership is putting your resources towards your team.
And he has failed to do that for 20 years. Moneyball was created because the man was so cheap.
Quite literally at every turn, he has been a guy who has
cut corners, cut costs, cut personnel,
turned his back on his fans. It has been every single thing that you could say that's poor ownership. John J. Fisher has done. Held a city hostage, had a city and state leadership turn on him, had a fan base turn on him. It is.
You're supposed to be a steward of these programs, and yet here, and I don't understand how, as a commissioner, you can sit there and say this is okay for all of the. Well, if you force one out, then you have to worry about. No, you don't. I know. I can look at the NBA, and go, nah. You get rid of the dumb, you know what ends up happening? Everybody starts buttoning up their own houses.
We do have, in professional sports, we do have comps to John J. Fisher, and you have them in baseball. And I think this is where baseball
now has the worst ownership in sports.
It's where it gets highlighted that it's going to be exponentially harder to get rid of an owner like him when you have ownership in Cincinnati and in Pittsburgh that do things.
Boston, are you seeing what's going on in Boston right now?
Well, you're seeing things very similarly, but at least in Boston, they spent at one point in time have to win at some point. There is a build-up and a tear-down aspect, but you can't be a tear-down for 20 years. And when you do find those diamonds in the rough, you win enough games to where all of a sudden it's time to pay, and you go, no, we're not going to do it. Even the Kansas City Royals got off their asses and paid a roster to get to 2 World Series
and won one.
Okay, and you have the Seattle Mariners and what they've got going right now up in Seattle, where they
talked about doing stuff and now they just sold off on everything
because of Root Sports, right? But you saw that the vision was there and they started spending money and they said, okay, we're going to do it. The fact that they don't have the money out, that should be very concerning for Mariners fans, is that they're that reliant on the successes of your regional sports network in order to build a contender and build a winner. That's not the case with what the A's have been doing. This is, you said it, 2 decades of cutting corners, cutting costs.
And in the early days, the Fisher family, that gap money, those shares were at $50 a share. This guy was worth billions. So the cost cutting back then, you can't be like, oh, the stocks went down. That's why he's cutting costs. The Tillman Fertitta of it all with the Houston Rockets when they got hammered by COVID and they started calling in debts. And if it wasn't for the bubble, if you go look at the bubble, you know why Fertitta survived? The bubble was sponsored by Lowry's Restaurants and all his restaurant groups.
Was it really?
Yes. That's how he recouped the money.
That's a great way to do it.
It was. But Fisher had money in the early days and didn't spend. So you can't say, oh, the market's corrections and he's lost money in the stocks. And no, you can't do that.
No.
Because he had money and didn't spend it.
If that is the excuse at some point, you have to say, all right, well, then I don't think you're fit to be an owner of a team. His character as a person and what he's done to the employees, to whether it's front office or players on his roster, what he's done to his fans, what he's done to city leadership of Oakland, the Alameda Coliseum, in that whole debacle that they went through, at every single turn he's showing you he's not willing to do it. So at what point does Major League Baseball just say, take a hike? But this is going to be, it's going to reach a tipping point to where some point,
Dusty, they don't have a place to play right now.
At some point, they need to figure out where they play their games until a stadium is built, and if they ever get a stadium built in Las Vegas. It's wild, man.
Portland Beavers, Portland A's, Portland Mavericks. What are we doing?
Yes,
honestly, it might be a saving grace where Portland can come in if they had an owner.
If they whoever the Portland Diamond Project deep pockets are,
and say that, hey, how about real pockets that's going to spend?
Yeah, and then
give Utah the expansion team.
Whether it's Salt Lake City or somebody in Las Vegas could come in over the top because they know that the local government's ready to play ball. There's no shortage of rich people there. Nashville, Charlotte, there are places that want to have Major League Baseball. The person that owns the team just likes the checks that come with owning the Oakland A's right now. That sucks.
It's gross.
Yeah.
All right, coming up next, it's a fun little moment.
Oh,
I mentioned a month ago a fun little drink that I grew up with that I stumbled across on the Amazons. The old Cactus Cooler. It took a month for it to get here.
I've never had this,
but it is now here. And so we will crack open a Cactus Cooler and let old Dusty give it a
Orange
try.
Pineapple Blast.
I will tell you, it may or may not have gone very well with the tequila you got me for Christmas.
Hey, let's go.
Quite tasty.
Good.
Quite tasty. We'll get to that more. Come here, Danny Dusty.
Did you bring the tequila?
It's the
This on my Twitter side.
Oh,
What is Grok?
So it's the AI that they developed.
Great.
Yeah, you don't want that.
No. I just saw it and I clicked on it and it scared me.
Yeah, you don't want it.
Grok something. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, no, you don't want to do that.
Oh, you have to subscribe to Twitter Blue. Oh, okay. So it's a way to get more money. Okay. Yeah, I get it. All right, it's all making
Picking up what I'm putting down.
Yep. All right. Here we go. They could just track everything from me.
So those who don't know, Cactus Cooler is a regional beverage, or I believe is originally founded in California.
Okay.
But it is the like beverage of my youth, and drinking it. It was like drinking nostalgia when it got to my house. I think it got there on the 23rd. I ordered this like the end of November, and it got.
You
to my
did
house.
a long time.
I remember bringing it up and be like, where did this? So according to Wikipedia, it's sold primarily in Southern California.
All right.
It is now owned by Dr. Pepper,
Okay.
but it was introduced in 1966. So it's an old drink.
Yeah, I've never had it before. Let taste test it here. It says that it is a
Orange pineapple blast.
All right. You did not bring tequila, which
No, I'm sorry.
you said could be paired with it.
Now, as soon as you taste it and then you get the idea, you're gonna go, oh yeah, that'd be good with tequila.
Yeah, it's really good. It's
It's
orange crush with pineapple.
Yeah.
Little hint to it.
yeah, and
Yeah.
but it doesn't have like the crush, like super sugariness taste to it.
No, it's got a lot of fizzle to it. Mm-hmm. That's good. Mm-hmm. I'm all in on cactus. I would have drank a lot of this.
Yeah,
I'd have the diabetes. I'd Wilford Brimley myself here with Cactus Cooler in my. This is really good. I'd never. This is a whole new world for me.
Right?
Yeah, I'm in on Cactus
Yeah.
Cooler. Why didn't this take off?
I don't know. I don't know if it's just a distribution thing. I don't know if it's a.
Not enough cactuses.
Oh, we got a lot of those
Good
though.
point. Good point. Not a lot of cactuses to cool.
They could have co-branded it with the like Acme
Yeah, that's really good.
Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote, something. You'd think, because like it looks like a cartoon on the can.
When you said Dr. Pepper owns this, it got me to thinking, how upset are you at the new Dr. Pepper commercials about Caleb Williams not believing in jinxes and everything like that could have gone wrong this season did go wrong? And that's like the main Dr. Pepper commercial with Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I'm sure Dr. Pepper regrets that commercial.
I'm sure Caleb Williams regrets that commercial because
he still had a great year personally on the field.
Yeah. But all of those jinxes did come true. You should not have crossed the path of a black cat, walked under 3 ladders, or said, I wear the number 13 for good luck.
Yeah.
Because that, I was and then he tweeted out that he's watching the semifinals and got roasted by people. Like it was a tough.
Yeah,
one.
he loved the punter for who kept
Which one?
Michigan.
Michigan's
No,
punter?
Michigan's punter kept pinning him deep.
Alabama's got a really good punter
Yeah.
too.
Oh no, it was the Alabama punter.
He's 6'6".
Yeah, the absolute unit. He absolutely hammered that one that Michigan fumbled.
Did you see our king set the record? Hmm? Yeah. Tory Taylor. Mm-hmm. He broke Johnny Pingle's
great name.
Yeah, long-standing NCAA record for punting yards in a season. The Iowa punter Tory Taylor surpassed Pingle with 4,479 yards of punts this year. The old record was 4,119. And
brother,
the old record was 4,138. And Tory Taylor entered the Citrus Bowl with 4,119. He punted for an additional 360 yards in the Citrus Bowl.
That is insane.
Yeah, he averaged 47 yards a punt this season, and he had 40 punts of 50 or more yards this year for Iowa. So
good God.
Yeah, he's an Aussie. Aussies are taking over the punting world.
Yeah.
But our king, Tory Taylor, punted his way to the history books.
Can we talk about Iowa real quick? Going out in the way that they did.
You mean by punting for 360 yards?
Not scoring a point?
Yes. Yes.
Is that the ode to Brian Ferentz that there ever was one?
And remember, Kirk Ferentz said right before we went on our Christmas vacations
That he's going to fire his son, but not until after the bowl season.
Well, no, he said that I'll have more. Remember, he went after Lincoln Riley at USC.
Oh, that's right.
And he said he was going to have more after the bowl. Mm-hmm. What are you going to say after getting skunked in your bowl game by Tennessee?
And people in Iowa are mad that Tennessee ran up the score on him.
You shouldn't be. You can't. You got to own it. You have to own it.
No.
Your punter's in the record books. And he was asked, like, hey, how does it feel to have this piece of history? And he's like, well, we punt a lot here. So, I mean, it's cool to have that. And we pride ourselves on punting. It's like, you never want to be a team that prides yourself on punting, man. That might be one of the worst records to have. Most punt yards in a single season.
Yeah. But also the punter's kind of a G.
Yeah, but as a team, you do not want, like, the record that there should be is fewest punt yards in a season by a punter that is
The guy that
in
never
every game.
goes out there.
Yeah, a guy who never plays. That's the record that you want. Tory Taylor in Iowa, they're like, hey, we got our guy. He's the best to ever do it. 4,479 yards of punting this season. I wonder, you compare that to total yards of Iowa's offense throughout the course of the season, buddy, their punt yards, I think they're probably eclipsing their offense on the season. For the year, they had 1,600 yards rushing, 1,600 yards passing, 3,284 yards of total offense in 2022-23. Their punter punted for 4,479 yards. He eclipsed them by...
Caleb Williams threw for 3,900 yards this year.
Yeah, but you saw Iowa's offense.
I mean, that's
None of this should be a surprise.
So Iowa's punter was so great he surpassed Caleb Williams' output as a passer.
That's right.
Ooh, buddy.
That's a lot of punt yards.
That's a lot of punt yards.
Yeah. If you look at on the punts for the season, he was at, again, as we said, 4,000 yards. The next closest, 3,500 yards. Navy's punter.
That's
So
racks.
he lapped the competition. And the king punter in my book is UAB's punter, Patrick Foley, who only punted for 1,700 yards this season while averaging 42 yards a punt.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Slow possession or limited possession games, you think?
Trent Dilfer's just refusal to give up. I think that'll
Going
probably
for it on fourth downs?
That'll probably just be it.
Just endlessly going on a fourth down?
Yeah.
Okay. I can get that.
Just keep going, bud.
A quick Googles with the Cactus Cooler.
Oh, yeah, Cactus Cooler.
The number one recommended alcohol with it is?
Tequila.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're getting Fred Flintstone drink Cactus Cooler.
Did he?
Yeah.
All the way in prehistoric times?
All the way. Yeah. Yeah. In the town of Bedrock.
Is that when he took his vitamins too?
Look, I don't feel like you should be talking about this after your Kevin Bacon takes earlier.
It's Cactus Cooler.
Oh, Kula.
Coolla.
That's what they did back then.
Okay.
I like this.
This I'll show you this. This is the can that I remember. Is this like pop top can?
It looks like the Astros old uniforms. It looks like the Tequila Sunrise uniforms.
But yeah, it's like I said, it's a tasty beverage.
Beauty.
It's a problem is I have to get it on Amazon because there's nowhere around here that has it. One of the world markets might have it or something like that.
I don't think so.
You don't think
Do you
so?
think world markets are like, yeah, Southern California's a different planet?
Well, I know, but like, there's a lot of us up
Kinda
here.
is.
Kind of is.
It is, but there's a lot of us around here. That's why the world markets like stock up on stuff that are,
Maybe they need like a Southern California centric or California centric market here.
yeah, just put it next to the In-N-Out.
Yeah, do that now. Go ahead.
I'm telling you, man, they keep trying to put that one in Bridgeport and Tualatin, but the city keeps fighting it back and forth.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah. Well,
Because
the
they're
same
too,
thing in Beaverton, I
they're
heard.
too worried about it traffic.
They're out on it.
No, they want it. They just have no feasible way to put it in there.
They're
because of
in on
traffic.
it, but they don't have traffic, so now they're out on it.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah,
They're in
there
and
it
they're
is.
out on it.
I see what you did there. They saw what the idiots
Salem
in
Kaiser?
Idaho did. No, in Idaho,
the
they waited
8-hour?
for 8 hours to
Yeah.
get in the Meridian, Idaho one.
Yeah.
If you're waiting 8 hours for fast food, you're a loser.
Can I stab him now or do I wait to the break?
No, I agree with Will.
I
on that.
love In-N-Out.
If you wait for 8 hours
You're
to
a
get,
loser.
I drove 5 hours.
That's not waiting in line for 8 hours.
It's really.
yeah, I
drove
think that
5
is,
hours. What were you
that's
doing
ridiculous.
it for?
He just
I drove to In-N-Out. I drove to Reading.
Oh, you did like the In-N-Out
Reading's
challenge?
way further than 5 hours.
We can make it in 5.
No, you can't.
You can make it in 5.
No, you can't.
Did you
From
go
where?
for the In-N-Out
From here.
challenge?
No, you cannot. Danny, you cannot make it to Redding, California
be
in
surprised.
5 hours. No, you can't. I know this. I know this to be a fact because from Ashland, it was an hour and a half if you were driving fast. I made that drive several times. You can't-
Really?
You
6 hours.
can't make it. You can't what? Not for just In-N-Out. No, to just to go
Shasta.
to Reading.
Just to go.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
to go to
Reading,
Reading.
Shasta,
Yeah.
that's
Because if you went to In-N-Out for the In-N-Out
hours.
challenge, I can get behind that. I'm all for that.
Yeah, for the challenge of it, yes.
But the 8 hours,
Just to wait when you live there? Nah, I'm out on that. What is the acceptable time to wait? I would say
3 cars.
What?
that's ridiculous, especially at an In-N-Out.
Yeah.
You can
In
wait
general.
you can wait 10 minutes and you can be like
That'll serve like 70 cars.
9 car, yeah. Like
Yeah.
you
they have
go through
3
it.
lanes up. I will tell you this: nobody has the drive-through down better than In-N-Out.
Chick-fil-A.
They're close.
Chick-fil-A.
They're close.
I'm not waiting for Chick-fil-A.
I agree with that too. I believe Chick-fil-A is overinflated with its goodness. It's a good chicken joint. It's okay.
Fair.
They're all good. I'm just not waiting that long for them.
I'm not waiting.
I'll go to the spot that doesn't force me to wait.
Boy,
Good luck with
if
that.
that in a lineman talking, I don't know what it is.
Put it straight into my mouth hole. My food. Bah.
Daddy want food.
Yeah.
Going to the Golden Corral.
Now, speaking of
buddy.
overinflated friends, my friend Kirk Henderson from Mavs Moneyball, he covers the Dallas Mavericks. The Trailblazers take on the Mavericks tonight and Friday night. We'll have him on here in just a few minutes when we get back here on Danny and Dusty, 10 The Fan. We are now joined by my friend, the illustrious Kirk Henderson from Mavs Moneyball, to discuss the illustrious Dallas Mavericks and the Portland Trailblazers, two wonderful franchises. Just definitely mired in nothing but greatness right now. Kirk, how you doing, man?
I'm having I have no idea what day it is. Is today like Tuesday or Wednesday? What year is it? I don't know what's going on. Let's talk basketball.
It is indeed Wednesday of 2024. You were locked in on new dad duty, which not only pertains to your personal life, but also to the Dallas Mavericks, as Luka Doncic is basically playing new dad to a new version of the Mavericks, seemingly every night as you guys battle through injury after injury after injury. But it appears for the most part the Mavs are getting healthier, much like the Blazers might be as well. What can you tell us about this Mavericks team and where they stand right now, and just kind of where Luka Doncic kind of sits in the pantheon of the NBA right now?
That's a lot of questions.
You like
let's
that?
Start with let's start with the immediate ones first. So, one of the things about a team laden with injuries is you start to find out what you have and what you don't. And during this sort of interesting period with Josh Green hurt, he had a hyperextended elbow. How you do that as a basketball player, primarily it means you're leading like you're Derrick Henry with your offhand trying to get through screens. Very, very painful, weird injury. Dante Exum sort of stepped out of the shadows to a degree, where he was signed. He played last year overseas in Europe, and apparently actually received some real coaching from one of the best coaches in the world. And he seems to have really found himself as sort of a ball handler with the Mavericks. I describe him the way Jack Donaghy described the Trivection Oven and 30 Rock. He is the Dallas Mavericks' third heat. And he is really playing some astounding basketball. And he's been a lot of fun the last several weeks. But right along with that, some of the Mavericks kind of marquee off-season signings. Grant Williams, who was acquired via a 3-team trade, looks like he has forgotten how to play basketball. And it's really uncomfortable. He might be at the moment. He might be one of the worst players in the NBA, and the Mavericks simply just don't know what to do with him. They've reduced him to almost an 8-man role off the bench. So that's all nice and well and good. And Kyrie Irving has returned from his injury after Dwight Powell nearly tried to break his foot when he fell on him playing Portland about a month ago. Yeah. Now that we're talking, and so Kyrie came back. He didn't look very good, but he's a 6-foot-tall guard with foot problems. There's going to be times when he looks better, and these Mavericks still have a lot of questions. But the thing that they have is they have this gentleman, this Rob Gronkowski-esque shaped figure named Luka Doncic, who anytime you put him out on the basketball floor, the Dallas Mavericks their games, and he has been simply unreal. I understand why he's not an MVP candidate at the moment, just because some other guys are playing incredibly well. But since his wife, or his future wife, they're getting married soon, gave birth to a baby girl, he's averaging over the last month something like 37 points, 8 rebounds, and 11 assists. So I get why he's not the best player in the league, but he is making a strong argument of the guy that you want to face the least in a given night.
To kind of stick to your Jack Donaghy references there, he also said never follow a hippie to a second location. And one thing with Kyrie is that he has kind of stepped away from the comments that will get him into the spotlight. And we know Kyrie is a different dude. He's a little bit of a weird dude. But as this season, prior to the injury, he was playing pretty good basketball. And as a team, they were playing really good basketball. How has his fit been in Dallas when healthy and when in that lineup?
It works. Contrary to what any national pundit will say, it works. And they can't play defense, but you don't get Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving together to play defense. You get together to score a lot of points. And when these two share the floor together, they, at one point in time, I've not looked at the numbers in a while, but they were outscoring opponents by 5 points per 100 possessions. They just tend to crush with this, and it allows Kyrie to take on a role that I think he's very well suited for, given his age, his style of game, and his injury proclivities, and that he can really pick and choose when to go. And there are times where he just looks very passive in the offense, and he's very frustrating. But then he'll have 3 or 4 possessions in a row where he is just skating across the floor fast as can be all the way to the rim, or hitting a catch-and-shoot wide-open three. I think it suits him very well, and as the season goes on and as teams get more injured and tired, hopefully he'll be able to come in and add a little bit of a special sauce now and then and help get the Mavericks over the line.
It's an interesting just juxtaposition of where the Mavericks are right now and where the Blazers are right now. And I think if you asked a lot of people in Portland, because they're so used to this organization being at least good, the entire history of the Portland Trailblazers, with the exception of Jailblazer years, they were good. Sometimes very, very good, and even great. And I think that the Mavericks are kind of embroiled in that they're good position. What do you think that kind of does organizationally for Dallas, for Luka, for you covering them, for the people around Dallas covering them, as far as not knowing the overall the arc that the team is truly headed on?
And that's kind of more of a question of well, they've been buoyed by two superstars in a row, like
yes.
two generational players in a row, and it's sort of hard to escape what those two mean more than anything to do with the franchise. Mark Cuban just recently sold the majority stakes of the team to the Adelson family, and like we're going to be very interesting to see what that does to like how the team is ran and operated, contrary to what Cuban says. But in the short term and in the immediate past, like this team has been by and large very good my entire life, and that sets a reasonable expectation, I think, for what they can do in a given year. Because like when you have a guy like Dirk Nowitzki, who, I mean, the Mavericks won 50 games in a row for I think 12 of 13 years. Like that's better than anything Luka's been able to do, and Luka is a far better player than Dirk ever was, as much as that might shock people to hear. The Mavericks still have a ways to go in terms of consistency. When you missed the playoffs last year, yes, they did tank. So did the Blazers, new to NBA fans. But it's you're just going to have, with how competitive the league is and really how competitive this blasted Western Conference is, which seems to have all the good basketball players, it's so difficult to win year in and year out. I think they're going to continue to be a pretty good team, but what the Mavericks did in terms of last offseason, they took an unbelievable swing because this was sort of the last shot to kind of keep Luka happy, if we're being candid. And it connected because Derek Lively is a very, very good basketball player. Kyrie looks good, and the team is winning. But, sustained success in this modern NBA with superstars is just really hard to do because you're going to find out guys are, they're impatient, as they kind of should be, but – it's a difficult environment to win in with how good the NBA is these days.
Sitting right now at 19-15, 6 games back, and you look up at the top of the standings, and you have Minnesota and Oklahoma City there. As this team does get healthy again, what is the ceiling of the expectation of what this team can do in the final few months of the season?
I think the reasonable ceiling is avoiding the play-in. Prior to the season, I would have said making the playoffs, period, by hook or by crook. Mm-hmm. But at times this year, they've looked so good. They were a top 4 team for a portion of the year. Their schedule balanced out a bit. But you can't control who you can play. You can only, beat the teams or play the teams who are in front of you. So I think kind of a top 6 is the reasonable goal and expectation, with the hopes of maybe a first round upset. There was like a 6 or 7 game span where they were sitting there at 5 and the Clippers were at 4. And I just had these, the Mavericks are the only team the Clippers have actually beaten in the playoffs, if we're being rude. And it's like, well, of course they're going to come beat the Mavericks again for the 3rd straight time. And that's the one team I'm like looking to avoid. But that kind of be the realistic expectation, in my opinion.
I'll let you go on this. When you look at this Trailblazers team, and you've had the opportunity to see them a couple times now, does the path that they're going down, does it at least make sense to you with what they're attempting to accomplish with resetting the timeline?
I think so, and I think you probably want to consider maybe moving off a few of the pieces just to see what else you have. But timelines are a really tricky thing because if guys are making a whole bunch of money and the team's not very good, then what is happening? And there's a little bit of that with Ant to a degree. I'm not sure just from an outsider's perspective, how much you can go in with another small guard. But he's at least incredibly fun to watch and seems to really love the organization. He really loves to play basketball. I know it's a silly thing to say out loud about a professional athlete, but that's the case with him. And there's stuff to build on. There's also a little bit of luck involved. I mean, a whole lot of luck involved. If we're being perfectly candid, we'll see what happens with a few of the Blazers' young guys, including my namesake. I need to get my son wears the same sport goggles as Scoot.
Yes.
And I have been sort of like trolling the internet looking for like a jersey or so he can have Scoot and I have shared the same last name. So it's I don't know. I'm rooting for Scoot as much as I give you grief about him in private.
I will maybe poke around with the Blazers and see if I can find a Henderson jersey somewhere. And get it your way. Thanks for taking the time for us, man. We appreciate it. That's Kirk Henderson of Mavs Moneyball. The Portland Trailblazers and Dallas Mavericks do play tonight and again Friday night in the baseball series. Kirk, maybe we'll check back in with you on Friday. If not, I'd say thanks to you, but I can't say them here because we're on the radio. But we'll talk soon, brother.
Be good.
That's good. Again, Kirk Henderson from Mavs Moneyball. If you're interested in the Mavs, he's the editor down there for Mavs Moneyball. He's been fantastic. He's been there for a long time.
This is a weird quirk in the schedule that we've seen over the last handful of years.
I
we
love
had
these
the back-to-backs,
baseball
and
series.
you had San Antonio just a week ago.
That
now
was a
you
true
have Dallas.
back-to-back. This one, they at least have a day off.
They have a day off in between, but this is the fourth time that they're going to, at the end of this week, they're going to play the Mavericks. They're done with Dallas. Like, this is a weird thing. Can you imagine, like, this being the case? Like, it was really rare that you would have it with the Western Conference opponent where all of your games would be done by the first week, of January. Yeah.
They're done with the Jazz, and I think they're done with the Spurs.
Like, and if we were to rewind,
it's like, wait, what? They're done with the division opponent already?
If we were to rewind a decade, heck, even 5 years ago, we'd be sitting there going, the playoff,
they're trying to optimize
playoff
the
scenarios would be set in January for 3 opponents, and like when teams ramp up in March and April,
just about trying to optimize the travel, which is kind of funny because Portland is going from Phoenix to Dallas twice, to both teams in New York, to Oklahoma City, and then to Minnesota.
This is the gauntlet road trip.
Kick the crap out of them. 7 games in 15 days.
One of the 2-week trips that they have this season.
They have 2 7-game trips. This one's 15 days. The other one's 13.
And that's actually, at the end of the season.
And that's actually worse because you're playing more games in less days and traveling like
that
crazy.
Could get ugly when you're looking at the end of the year, where this team is, where the season is.
Oh, to be honest, they might lose every game on this trip. They might.
Because after Dallas,
you got see
Brooklyn,
what OKC did to Boston?
New York, Oklahoma City, and Minnesota to wrap
OKC in the last week beat Denver and Boston.
Yikes.
OKC is probably the best team in the league right now.
They're playing like it.
I mean, Shea's unguardable.
Yeah.
It's absolutely nuts. Quick little side note: the optimization of travel stuff. It's going to be really interesting when Seattle and Vegas get teams. All of a sudden, Portland's travel is going to go from like the biggest in the league to like not that much.
Good.
It'd be nice. All right, coming up next, we will revisit our NFL scenarios that were rudely interrupted by Will Ortner's bad movie takes. We'll be here in Danny and Dusty, Danny the Fan.
Can't believe him.
weeks NFL games wrapping up the regular season. There will be no Lamar Jackson.
Snoop Bluntly, let's go.
There
Utah.
will be no Joe Flacco. There will be no Matthew Stafford as Carson Wentz will start for the Rams.
That's actually the smartest move of.
They are essentially locking in the Dallas Cowboys for their matchup, which is interesting because that means the Rams feel, I guess, more comfortable with that matchup.
Yeah, well, unless San Francisco decides they want to rest everybody, but I don't know why you would rest everybody when you have a bye week all locked up. You know, maybe you keep Purdy on the shelf and you see kind of what you got, or you got guys with dings and
CMC's already out.
bumps. Yeah, but Christian McCaffrey's been dealing with dings all season long.
Yeah,
so
you'd say his career.
just go ahead,
That's
make
kinda
sure
how
he's
it
good
is.
for that run. But I mean, there is a scenario this weekend. If Seattle wins, if Tampa wins, if the Saints win, and the Rams pull off an upset over the Niners, that LA plays Detroit. They go to Detroit, and you have Stafford going to
That's
Detroit in Detroit's first home game in like 30 years. That'd be awesome. That would be great drama.
The other fun storyline
And then
there,
Seahawks back their way into the 7th seed too.
the other fun storyline there is that Green Bay could end up going to Detroit, and you have an NFC North rivalry.
That'd be cool.
Where Green Bay goes into Detroit, which
Detroit.
that's probably been the other way around in every other occurrence. Just gonna go out on a limb and assume that's the case.
We're gonna go carry the one, and yep. But the AFC is
It's bat-ass crazy because
it's wild.
The biggest indicator for matchups right out of the gate is Houston, Indianapolis. That one, that is going to be the winner of that game is the division winner.
Yeah.
So the winner of that game will get the 4 seed, whether it's the Colts or the Texans. You go down the tree, probably the next most important game in the AFC is Jacksonville, Tennessee, or Pittsburgh, Baltimore. And in Baltimore, not only is Lamar Jackson going to be resting, you better believe there's going to be a ton of skill position players that are going to be resting.
Yeah, and this is the interesting part, that when you have one team that gets a bye, that whole rest versus rust thing. And John Harbaugh does not strike me as a guy who likes to sit his guys.
No, but that team has been so banged up for so long.
And they're finally getting healthier.
Like, let them have it. So
it truly is incredible. Baltimore is the 1 seed and looks like the best team.
And
in the
Lamar's
NFL.
going to win the MVP.
And Mark Andrews is hurt.
Yeah.
That's the incredible part.
His
to me.
Woogie, his safety blanket, is hurt.
The guy who has been the most reliable player for them.
Zay Flowers has been good. OBJ's been good. Like, they've been good elsewhere.
Well, and look no further than you go and you get Todd Monken from Georgia, who their offense looked a shell of itself. And I know that Stetson Bennett was gone and all the guys that go to the NFL, yada, yada. Todd Monken is a damn good play caller, and he has had his imprint on that offense from day one. But now you can see Lamar is comfortable with it, and the pieces that they were able to put around it, it makes sense now offensively.
It's funny to say that after scoring 56 points against the Dolphins, they're not as explosive as they were in the Lamar MVP year previously, where they were so dynamic, but they're more consistent.
I think
they're significantly more consistent.
I think that, it's just in a different way, right? You're less reliant on Lamar Jackson to be a savior, and you're more reliant on him actually being able to push the ball down the field. And they are doing their offense is pretty masterful with the way they set teams up. So Lamar can take those shots where he was one of the worst accuracy-wise deep passers in the NFL.
And that was the knock on him. That's why I always said, prove it.
And he has. And a lot of it was play calling and pieces. Pieces, like, it's not just
Zay
Monken,
Flowers has
it's
been
not
huge.
just Zay and Odell. It is they have an offense that makes sense to their personnel, and they're fantastic.
With that being said, the Steelers probably have a better chance of winning that game.
It means more. They have to.
Yeah.
They have to win that game.
And they need some help. So they win that game, they're going to need some help. They're going to need the Tennessee Titans to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, because if the Jags win, poof. Sorry. That will change the Colts Texans matchup, changes things around as it pertains. This is what I was saying.
Yeah.
There's so much of this that you go down the list of things that can happen. You go, well,
I mean, this is realistic. You have the 2 seed is on the line between the Bills,
Buffalo and
the
Miami.
Dolphins.
Yes.
There is a scenario where the Bills can be playing for the 2 seed, but also can miss the playoffs. If Miami beats Buffalo, Pittsburgh beats Baltimore, okay, Houston beats Indy, Jacksonville beats Tennessee, the Bills are out.
Yeah,
Bills are out of the playoffs.
Your 1 seed is Baltimore, Miami 2, Kansas City 3, Jacksonville 4, Cleveland 5, Houston 6, Pittsburgh 7, and the Buffalo Bills at 10-7 would be out.
Is that out of the realm of possibility? If you have Tyler Huntley starting at quarterback.
I mean, I think the Steelers are going to be favored.
Baltimore.
I think the Texans are going to win that game.
Yep.
Jacksonville beating Tennessee is very likely.
Mike Vrabel is talking like a guy who's
defeated,
just absolutely furious with his team and his roster and his front office. Like, he seems like a guy that he may be out, like he's just checked out on this season.
And Miami beating Buffalo? Well,
in Miami.
But the difference is Miami just hasn't beat anybody.
That teams with winning records still really hard for them to beat.
And they beat the Cowboys, and like I said, they haven't beat anybody.
That's so cold.
I mean,
the 2 seed in the NFC.
Yeah. Well, and the NFC's still not locked away either. It's certainly much more under wraps for sure.
Yeah.
But the AFC, you have got so many different machinations. And again, the trigger point for this is Houston, Indianapolis, division winner, and how that forces some things around, and then Jacksonville, Tennessee.
I'll tell you, the AFC, you could have 2 through 7 completely shift and turn on its head. I mean, I think the only thing that we're locked in,
number 5,
Browns and Kansas City.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of that, it is 2, 4, 6, 7. Agent of Chaos. I want it. I want all of it.
You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams. 6 teams vying for 4 spots.
Yikes. I mean, in the NFC, you could have a lot of carnage happen too. I mean, the NFC South is still up in the air, but there's a possibility that imagine with the way that this season started for the NFC West, right? Where we thought San Francisco, we knew they were going to be good. We knew how good they were. Okay. But, and they have earned that 1 seed through and through. They're one of the best teams. I think if you were going to ask me Baltimore and San Francisco versus the field of anybody else in the playoffs, I think it's safe to say one of those 2 teams is going to probably win the Super Bowl this year. But with the way that the Rams came out of the gate, they were 1-3 to start the season. The Seahawks, who we thought was going to be really good, they started 3-1, but then they hit the skids in the middle of the season. It was like, oh boy, they look broken. They have a chance to back their way into the playoffs. They need the Bears to beat the Packers as one of the games, so good luck with that. But they could find themselves in the playoffs as well. You could have 3 teams from the NFC West where the expectations were it was going to be San Francisco. Seattle was going to have a chance to vie for a playoff spot, but at the middle of the season, I don't think anybody would have said anyone from the NFC is going to make the playoffs except for the San Francisco 49ers. And you had LA turn it around, and Seattle got back on track late in the year, but it may be too little too late because they're asking for a heck of a lot of help here. I think the NFC is a lot more fun when you look at all of the different scenarios that
I go full Petty King right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Do it.
If the Eagles beat the Giants and the Commanders beat the Cowboys, if the Cowboys fall on their face, they'll swap spots. Philly will have the 2 seed. Dallas will have the 5 seed.
See,
5 seed Dallas after what the season they've had would be objectively hilarious.
That would be, and them having to go on the road to Baker Mayfield and Tampa. That would be hilarious. But we also need Tampa to take care of their business, and nobody has any faith in that.
No,
but having Dallas have to go to New Orleans too would be hilarious.
Having them have to go anywhere and being a 5 seed after the way that they've behaved.
I have absolutely zero faith
in the Commanders
that the Commanders can do.
No,
anything.
they don't have Caleb Williams at quarterback yet.
They won't have Caleb Williams at quarterback because if they do win that game. If they win that game and New England loses, New England could vault themselves back up into the 2 seed again.
Have you seen The Matrix?
No.
There is a matrix out that highlights just what scenarios are what across the board.
Yeah.
And there are, let me pull this up. I want to say there are 29 Oh, the tweet's been deleted. I think 29 or 20.
Which means it probably wasn't right.
The math didn't math up right. It was one of the big NFL writers had it. It was a matrix of games going one way or another. But the vast majority of them had the Commanders ending up at the number 2 overall pick. And there are a ton of discussions. I've got media friends in Chicago who all say that the talking points around the town right now and around the city and sports media is that the Bears are going to keep Justin Fields and either trade back or take a wide receiver number 1.
Well, I mean, they could trade back with Washington or New England and
having the
get
opportunity to take a number 1 overall pick quarterback twice when you need a quarterback and not doing it would be the most Bears thing I've ever seen.
I don't believe that the Bears are going to want to go into next year with it being the make or break year and paying the 5th-year option on Justin Fields
and not have an option.
I don't think that is.
It has to be posturing, right?
Yeah. Well, I could very easily see them trading back if they get the King's ransom. I could see it.
Then taking Jaden Daniels.
No. I could see them taking like a Drake May. I could see them taking Drake May. No, I see them just
they've gone
taking
North
Caleb
Carolina.
Williams.
They've gone North Carolina quarterback before.
But Drake May has way more tape and good tape
than
Trubisky ever had. But I could see them going into next season with Justin Fields and drafting a quarterback later. Because like if you feel like Michael Penix will be there in the second round, why wouldn't you at that point? You know, you have 2 first-round picks.
The opportunity to take
you could go
top flight quarterback.
Yeah, top flight quarterback that, there's rumblings about teammates not really liking Caleb Williams. And,
it's fair.
The drama that has kind of surrounded him at the back half of the season, which is really interesting. None of this was coming out while he was winning a lot of football games,
It's weird.
But
winning cures all ills.
Caleb Williams is still really damn good. Mm-hmm. And a lot of teams are going to want him, but I could see Chicago screwing it up.
It's Chicago. They can't get quarterbacks right.
Yeah.
All right, coming up next, you had
Depends on if Harbaugh's there. But Justin Fields isn't, I'm telling you, Justin Fields isn't that bad. Like
I'm out.
He's not.
I'm out. He's not. Caleb Williams is from DC. Just wanted to point that out. Coming up next, you had some thoughts and ideas on kind of quasi how to fix and how things get fixed in college football as we head to a 12-team playoff, as the 4-team playoff format has its last year. But first, here's Big Will Betts with the Sports Center update. As much as they are to gamble on, as much fun as you can get some action, we got too many.
Yeah, we do. We have way too many bowl games. And they were bad.
Yeah,
There's
were
bad football being
really
played.
bad. And look, to be fair, on some of the higher end New Year's adjacent bowl games were really bad. See Georgia, Florida State.
Yeah.
God,
Well,
it's why did we not get Georgia, Oregon?
or Oregon throttling Liberty. I mean, look, it was.
They should have put Florida State Liberty together and called it good.
Yeah, that would have been a nice little
Go.
matchup.
Florida State gets to go win.
It would have been regional down there. Yeah, but they wanted to kind of also prove the point that Georgia was going to drop the hammer on Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
And they did.
And they did.
But having like that front row seat to the Fiesta Bowl and being down there and seeing on the field after the game, anybody that tells you that all the bowls outside of the college football playoff are meaningless, that is unequivocally wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It's wrong because the New Year's Six Bowls do mean a lot to both of those teams and that were playing in the Fiesta Bowl. And the fact that like we do see guys opting out like Florida State, but that was more of like a message to
More than
the
anything else.
committee,
Yeah.
you know. I also think that it's pretty I'll say it's pretty weak that you have that many guys opt out just because you didn't make it to the college football playoff.
To be fair, Georgia also had, 15 guys opt out?
They did. I think that it's a credit to what Dan Lanning's doing at Oregon, that not only did they only have a handful of guys opt out, like there's no part of me that sits there and Jackson Powers Johnson goes and wins the Remington Award for the best center in all of college
going
football.
to the NFL.
And he's like, let's see here. I'm a lineman in the trenches. There's a bigger risk for me to get hurt than I can prove anything here. Troy Franklin, kind of same deal, right? Like you're a wide receiver. You're one step away. We saw what happened to Jake Butt in the Orange Bowl. I don't judge those guys
anybody
at
who,
all.
who leaves.
If you have a
you're
high draft,
day
Scott,
one or day two guy, I have now. Did the day three post guys? Get your ass to the bowl game.
let's go play. Right?
Go play. But if you're day one, day two, hell yeah, go.
And there's a lot of guys that like portal guys, right? If you don't have a spot on the team anymore, you feel like you're
Sure,
gone,
entirely.
go ahead and leave. But they're also look, if the guy doesn't want to be there, trust me, you don't want them there during your bowl prep because they'll drag everybody down, they'll go out, they'll party, they'll be a distraction, they'll do all those things.
Try to pull somebody from another school.
Which, if anybody is wondering, there's a 5-day window for any of the teams that played on New Year's Day. 5 days after your bowl game is the time frame that you have to enter the transfer portal. So everybody else, like the portal's closing for Oregon State today.
yes,
They haven't.
I saw
Today's the last
somebody
day.
from Oregon.
Silas Bolden and
Yes.
no, Tanner Miller for Oregon State. They entered yesterday. So you're going to start seeing any of the guys that are going to enter the portal from Oregon will start doing it, over the next couple of days, and they got that 5-day window. So there is that, the guys who push through. But I do think that it says a lot about kind of where Oregon's direction is when you have Bo Nix play in that bowl game, when you have guys like Brandon Dorless, which, he's not a day one or day two guy in the NFL draft. Like those guys are still playing, and, they don't have to go out there and risk it and risk what draft stock that they do have. But the meaning of that college football or the New Year's 6-day games, it's still there, man. And what college football needs to do is they need to lop off about 10 bowl games as a start.
Yeah,
Because we see all of the opt-outs in. The opt-outs are because a lot of the other games outside of the New Year's Six have been deemed meaningless right now because you have 5 and 7 teams. You have 6 and 6 teams that are entering bowl games. Going to a bowl game should be something that is meaningful to your program, meaningful to your team. And it's not just extra practices. It's the exclusivity of making a bowl game. And if you take 10 of those off, then all of a sudden we go from 84 teams making bowl games this year, and you whittle that thing down and you take 20 teams off of that. Like 62 teams. That's still a lot. That's damn near half of the FBS is going to a bowl game at that point. If you have a sweet spot of like 20 bowl games, then I don't think you see guys opting out of bowl games left and right because it means a heck of a lot more. It's just where we're at with the TV contracts. They want that programming throughout the month of December, and they get day after day, game after game. But if you had 20, you could go 20 straight days of having a bowl game. Like you could have 20 straight days of bowl. If we're being honest here, you'd probably want it to be like 15 straight days of a bowl game, and then New Year's Day.
Can I
you
propose
jam-pack
something?
That thing. Yeah.
How about you have 30 bowl games and the remaining qualifiers go into an NIT tournament?
Say that again. What now?
Turn it into like a crappy playoff.
A Cascadia Cup, if you will.
Yes.
Yeah. For you get the right to play for 13th place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I see, and I don't think that would work, because I think then you'd have guys opting out being like, okay, we're playing for 13th, you know?
But what if there's money attached to those games, that playoff?
Sure, but I don't think that fixes the problem I don't think that fixes everything.
I think it's an alternative to just cutting off the limb.
The 12-team playoff is going to be great. Like, could you imagine, like, if we had the 12-team playoff this year, where in this scenario, Oregon would have been hosting Missouri?
No, that would have been a great game.
And this is what they're going to do. So 5 through 8 are hosting 9 through 12 on campus sites. I think that is going to be phenomenal television. It'll be great drama. You'll have teams that are going to be having to go from, University of Miami will have to go and play Madison, Wisconsin, for God's sakes. Like, that will be great to have in those opening round, as the first 4 have their bye week. And then you're going to have, all of the other games that are going to go down from there, where you go to the bowl sites. It's going to be hard for fans to get to all of them, and I understand that. And I don't necessarily like the corporatization of it all, because, like, think about the strain that it would have if you are, say you are Oregon, right? And you have to have the game in Eugene, then you would go to your quarterfinal game, and then do you go to the semifinal game, and then do you go to the championship game? That's a lot of travel and expenses that are going to go into it, where it's going to turn more and more into like a Super Bowl type atmosphere, where it is, corporatization, businesses, you have to know somebody to be going to the national championship game. And that will take away from it a little bit, I think, because I think that people can justify going to 1 or 2 games, but travel for 3 games?
No,
I don't think you would want to do that.
No.
And that's way too much.
It becomes a Super Bowl. It's not about fans anymore.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is you kind of highlighted Oregon and the team that just played on the New Year's and their transfer windows. 9 Alabama players have declared today,
including their center, who had the snapsies.
He might have been forced out.
I think he was.
That was an issue that happened all year long.
Yeah. And it is unacceptable. Like that, I cannot believe that a program of Alabama's stature had that issue reoccur time
as frequently as it did. You think they would have found somebody to fit in there?
Inexcusable to have that.
Well, you just switch to a dead ball snap. It's so easy.
So
they
easy.
had to have. No, I mean they had to have. They had to have tried it. I mean, at what point of the season do you say we have to go under center? Because it was over the course of. I mean, it was almost every month of the season you had these issues. Like, that is brutal.
How does a center just like, did he go Chuck Knobloch?
That may be it, but there's moisture on the ball where you're gripping the ball, and
it is harder than you realize. Like each snap.
I'm just saying in general, like this is a center who's like.
Well, and then I think
you knew how. You forgot how.
Well, and each quarterback likes their ball a little different.
That's the big one. When you said the dead ball snap, the quarterback could be the big one, because Milroe may just have a problem with the dead ball snap and doesn't like it. Like,
once the spiral coming to him,
you have to tailor your snap to your quarterback. And that's why I found it really interesting when Nick Saban, first he got upset at McLaughlin when it happened the first time. Then he went over to Milroe, and he was dressing Milroe down as like it was kind of his issue too. Because if Milroe's like, I can't do the dead ball snap, then they're like, well, how are we going to fix this problem? Because we have a center that can't do one way, we have a quarterback that can't do another. I don't know the inner workings of those conversations, but it may not just be wholly on the center, although the results are. I mean, the results are when it happens time and time again.
And some teams don't want the dead ball snap because it comes in like a knuckleball.
Yep.
And the true spiral snap is better because it's easier to catch. It's easier to have your eyes up for RPOs or zone read options, stuff like that, where the dead ball comes back more like a knuckleball.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll see a lot of teams that will move to that dead ball snap when they have a center that literally can't snap the ball back to their quarterback. It's just an easier technique to learn.
It's interesting. But that was brutal.
Yeah.
That was absolutely brutal. And now you're going to see a lot of guys are going to be entering the portal.
They may be a long snapper, man. So I only know one thing.
And just to huck it back.
Fireball back fast.
That's right. Get it back there as hard as you can.
So, and we saw one of those go sideways in Michigan. Good God. All right, coming up next, we'll put a nice little tidy bow on the show before we hand you over to Prime Time with Isaac Zook. It's here on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. Looks better. And you are starting to see a better Scoot Henderson, and a big part of that is him getting reps and getting opportunities. And I don't know if Ant's going to go tonight. I know he was under the weather. He got his butt kicked.
Sickness.
So he was questionable, which means he's got a chance. I don't know if he's got his sea legs back underneath him. Maybe they hold him out until Friday. But regardless, you're going to get a fair amount of Scoot Henderson. Until
Scoot has been playing so much more confident.
And that's the thing. And there's so much of it. And it's just talking to him after games, you can see like it wasn't a chip on his shoulder. It was a boulder.
Yep.
And you can see it's like him showing the creation a little bit. We talked about this yesterday. The pass that he threw to Matisse Thybulle against the Spurs, where he threw it into space, was just otherworldly. And you go, And then he had an absolute missile. He had to Toumani Camara on a cut. And you're starting to see the thing that makes Scoot Henderson special. It's not the athleticism, which is nice.
And Toumani Camara, by the way, upgraded too after sitting out in Phoenix with the knee soreness.
And look, I'll tell you right now, Toumani's a dog. Yeah, he's been playing through a ton. His thumb has been bothering him.
Well, hell, they don't have anybody else. He's got to.
And I mentioned this the other day. Jabari Walker comes into the locker room with a new group of cuts every single game. Like he wears the small, like padded thing underneath the jersey. DeAndre wears like the full on linebacker one.
He's wearing like rib protection,
shoulder protection, like the scapula one. Like, oh yeah, because he's just in there, just quasi setting screens.
His knee's an issue too, though.
His knee is an issue. He's still not with a team. Like, it's just, it's gonna be a rough road trip.
I mean, not with the team, and they're on a 2-week road trip. Yeah. Like, you can go and meet up with them on the road at some point, but
he's got a swollen knee.
Why would you
hopping on a plane 4 different times is not a good idea.
What is, like, and with all of this said, with the injuries that they have, guys bouncing between the G League and up to the Blazers active roster, what is the next step for this team? Like, that's what I keep asking myself, is like, what can you make out of this? Because I think one thing that we are